Time against the Toronto Blue Jays.
Let me ask you this, Don, and I know Fergie down there near the dugout. Can you think of any place to be in a September pennant race with Robert Miller singing the national anthem in Yankee Stadium? Did you get goosebumps?
Sure did.
These fans are wild and crazy, but boy, to be here, it is something. Griffey, Henderson, and Winfield, they can go get the ball, folks. Paliarulo, Meacham, the shortstop, Rex Hudler, Willie Randolph still with a damaged muscle. Mattingly, two best first basemen possibly in the game. Right here in New York, Hernandez on the other end of town. Ron Hassey, the catcher, Ed Whitson. Let's go back now to Fergie Albert.
Ricky Henderson, you were quoted as saying that these last two losses by the Yankees are not as big as everybody thinks they are. There's still a lot of games left.
I believe it's still a lot of game left. I think if we'd have won them 2 games, I think it still wouldn't have been as important as a game that we got to play down the road. And I think the most important thing is you got to take game by game. And, you know, if you win them, you win them. If you lose them, you lose them. But you got to keep your head up and just go out each and every day and try to win the ball game.
So here is Ed Whitson, free agent, winner of 14 games for San Diego. Great things expected of him, but what a terrible start he had. But he's worked the record at 10-7 right now. Little pop-up. Fernandez sends it out to the shortstop, Bobby Meacham, for a pass first out.
He didn't get it on the ground. He had Paliarulo charging at third, looking for a bunt when the top hand went up, but he wanted to slap it by him, and he hit it too much of a line drive. Aside from Phil Niekro, the 300-game winner, and Ron Guidry, not another starter with their ERA below 4 on this Yankee staff, and the bullpen is tired, folks.
5 of them in action last night. They had Guidry. Not a good night for Guidry. Managed to win thanks to a bad Blue Jay inning. The Yankees got 6 runs. And, of course, you get down to Bob Shirley last night as a starter and Ed Whitson today. So the pitching right now in the series certainly favors the Blue Jays. The 2 wins out of 3 indicate that. Might well have been 3 straight wins for them.
And yesterday, the Yankees picked up a left-hander with an outstanding curveball, Rod Scurry, out of the Pirates organization. We may see him today. But I'm a little bit surprised that Billy didn't at the last second change to a left-hander against his Blue Jays club, but he doesn't know that much about Scurry except from scouting reports.
Plans to use him in, middle relief. Setup man. Last night he had to bring Righetti in much too early, we thought. Most people thought. Billy defended it. He said, if I had to do it again, I'd do it 100 times the same way.
In this particular instance, I agree completely with Billy, because the starting staff, aside from the 2 we mentioned, Niekro and Guidry, he needed that game so badly, he had to come in with Fisher and Righetti early. Now, you can criticize Billy for bringing them back in May, June, July, but it showed the importance of that game yesterday. Billy felt he had to win it. He needs this and even more.
Well, when he had Righetti and he didn't do it, he took him down to Fisher for late innings. And Canada yesterday in St. John's, Newfoundland, beat Honduras to qualify for the first time for the World Cup Soccer Finals. We congratulate that Canadian team for a magnificent victory. A little warmer here than it was in St. John's yesterday, 72 Fahrenheit. Just a delightful Sunday afternoon.
When's the last time you saw, aside from the World Series crowd or League Championship Series, of fans getting into a ball game as early as this? There's only 1 out.
That happens at every game in this series.
They are rabid.
Virtually from the opening pitch. Tough play. Meacham has to range way back, dig deep, doesn't get him. Base hit for Mosby.
Close to an outstanding play by Bobby Meacham, and now Mosby has pulled a hamstring. And it's that time of year when the muscles are tired, you're in a tough game. Mosby is still out in right field with a pulled hamstring. Don't know how seriously. He beats it out.
Just
outstanding try by Meacham, but Mosby may have to leave this game. He is hurting.
With Garcia gone and Upshaw gone, the Blue Jays do not need this.
Chevy, about 20 minutes before the game started, the Shaker was with Pat Gillick on the bench, and they were talking. He was telling Pat then that he has an injured hamstring. He said he didn't think it was that serious. He was going to play, and Pat said, well, are you going to try and steal a base? He said, you better believe it. This game is too important to come out of it, no matter what happens.
Well, I'll tell you what, it may have been stiff and tired, but it is now pulled, Fergie.
And that's what happened to Willie Randolph. He had a hamstring he fooled around with, came back in too soon, and was literally unable to move in the second game of this series, replaced by Rex Hudler. You have to watch those things. Fouled out of play by Rance Mulliniks. Amazing contribution throughout the season, but certainly against the Yankees from Mulliniks, who's at third base today, and Orge at second base for the Blue Jays.
How about the ball that Mulliniks hit over Sample's head in left field yesterday? Billy Martin and Gene Michael had just moved the left fielder in. Didn't feel he had power out in that area.
They were wrong. popped up and well out of play. Molinax with a personal best 51 RBIs, and he's equaled his home run high for a single season of 10 already with still 3 weeks to go. It all ends 3 weeks from today at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. The Yankees in for the final game and the final series Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yankees have Detroit to play 6 games, Baltimore 6 games, and then the games you mentioned against the Blue Jays.
There goes Mosby. Got a pretty good jump. Head first, safe.
You're not supposed to be able to do that with a full hamstring.
So it can't be all that bad. His 34th stolen base.
He does this on Whitson, not on Hasse. Although Hasse in his days with Cleveland was not noted for having an outstanding throwing arm, Whitson took him for granted. Thought, well, this guy's got a little sore muscle. I never thought there's any way that Lloyd would be able to steal a base the way he limped after he hit that first base bag. But he does.
Got a great jump, though.
Beats it by a foot or two.
So 34 for 47. He's parked in scoring position for Molinax. He's got a 1-ball, 2-strike count to him. Slices that one off the left side to hold the count. George Bell is on deck. I'll correct something I mentioned earlier. He did get 1 hit in this series. It was meaningless, but it was his last at bat last night. So maybe that'll turn George Bell around as he stands there on deck waiting to go.
Whenever George is about his last 60 at bats, he has struggled.
Ever since Chicago, really, when he tore Comiskey Park almost apart. Second baseman Hudler has it. He'll take Molinax. He advanced to third by Mosby with 2 out now.
He's still hurting. He's still grabbing at that right hamstring. And, you know, even though Lloyd stole that base, it's something you've got to be careful with. You get a little pull and the sheathing on that big tendon, that big muscle tears, and then you're loosened up and you don't know you're hurting it more. Then it becomes a tear, and the next thing you know, what could have been a week or 2 weeks or a few days could end up being a month. He's got to be very careful.
Must have this little rash of injuries happen. It couldn't happen at a better time because the Jays have 2 days off this coming week. Bell hits it out of play. Tomorrow, Monday, and then Thursday after playing 2 games in Boston. So that's a break for them.
Yep. Show you how the boss, wonder this ball club operates. Some of the reports on Ed Whitson pitching for the Yankees today, even from the boss's own people, were not glowing reports. But he knew he needed pitching. He went out and spent the money, a free agent contract for big dough. Some people feel he went out and got Whitson only because San Diego had taken nettles and gossips from him.
Well, Bell is thrown out by Hudler. They strand Mosby after his base hit and stolen base. The Yankees get out of the Blue Jay half of the first inning from New York. This is the Bats Blue Jays baseball.
Mattingly's a good hitter. You just have to make good pitches and hope the percentages are in your favor. He's going to get his hits. Winfield, he's not hitting for as high an average as he has in the past, but he has a lot of RBIs and a lot of home runs, and he's certainly capable of beating you at any time.
You see Alexander's note there, 13-1 as a Blue Jay dating back to '83 in September. He's a good clutch player down the stretch. Unfortunately, his career record, this surprised me, against the Yankees is just 3-10.
0-2 this season against the Yankees. Ricky Henderson will lead it off. Ken Griffey, then Don Mattingly. Winfield hitting a cleanup spot. Ron Hasse, the catcher, hitting number 5. And Pasqua, the DH. Mike Pagliarulo at third base. Those two have thrown some home runs on the board. They were looking for left-handed hitters. They've got some up here, some young power hitters. Rex Hudler at 8th spot. And Bobby Meacham, the switch-hitting shortstop.
Tony, last night we heard from Don Baylor, who did not conceal his unhappiness with being platooned. As you look at the Blue Jay defense today, Leach at first base for Upshaw. Orge for Garcia at second base. Molinax over at third. Of course, Ernie Witt catching. He really likes to play all the time, as most ball players do. He figures he's been in 8 pennant races, can help this team, but he's hitting on only one kind of pitching now. Pasqua goes the other way.
Well, you wonder if that's Billy or a combination Billy with orders from the man upstairs. That happens too. Times he's called the dugout requesting that Billy would find a certain pitcher. In fact, he wanted him to find either 500 or 1,000. I've got conflicting stories from different people. Rigetti for not covering first base last night. It's the kinds of things that happen in the pennant race, and the boss thinks that keeping players on edge is the way to do it.
It'll go one way or the other. It could turn on you, too. They can wind up not caring about winning for a person like that.
Yeah, the Yankees have made a heck of a run. They were 9.5 games out at one time. Still not out of it. This guy sets the table, Ricky Henderson, and if you just make him put the ball in play, he has also thrown 21 dingers on the board. So you cannot just say, hey, here, hit it to Ricky Henderson.
And as well as Alexander's pitch, that is the one little blot on his record, the 25 home runs that he's given up.
19 of those 25 have come with nobody on base, and over his last 7 starts, he hasn't walked very many, and he hasn't given up many home runs. So he's in a groove, and he proved for the 3rd year he might be the best pitcher on this Blue Jay staff.
Really
starting pitcher.
Yep. Just missed there to go 1-0 to the dangerous Henderson. Of course, the Yankees man to get it going for them. Henderson, Griffey, and Mattingly here in the New York 1st inning. And oh, how quiet it got last night along about the 5th inning. And it stayed that way right to the end here at Yankee Stadium.
You know, the boss was ranting and raving last night about how all his big hitters kept hitting ground balls to short. Tony Fernandez had 9 assists. 16 assists for the ball club, and he gave no credit to Jimmy Key at all. Left-hander's always been good in this park. Turn the ball over, get the ground balls.
What did he say? They were outplayed, out-ownered, out-managed, and I guess with that poor young woman, they were under anthem.
I think he made a slip when he said they're out-ownered. He didn't mean to say that.
Balance, looking for balance, credibility in the statement. Grasping for it. Alexander just missing outside again, goes to 3-1.
Mark Johnson behind the plate. This is the same crew that was up at Exhibition Stadium for the Detroit series. There was bickering from both sides, the Tigers and the Blue Jays, and it's continued right on through here. Yankee Stadium. A lot of pressure on the umpires here also. You don't want that.
No, sir. Not a good way to start.
He can be on 3rd in an instant.
Was last night, stole 2 bases. 2nd and 3rd.
Ernie's got to be getting a little bit tired now. You might not see it as much in his bat, although I think it shows there catching every day. He wants to play every day, and he should. And he's been doing an excellent job. But when you catch day game after a night game and a rough series like he's had a couple series, you can't come out of the chute as well with those legs. They're the things that get tired.
I asked him about that this morning, and he said, tomorrow is the greatest day of the week. I'm going to stay in bed all day in Boston. Checking on Henderson with Leach over at first base. Ken Griffey did not play last night. Billy Samples against the left-hander Jimmy Key, who was brilliant, started the game. Griffey has really helped his team defensively. He's made some circus catches. He just destroyed the Boston Red Sox in one 4-game sweep here in New York recently.
He's been somewhat rejuvenated with those knees, which has given him trouble. And I think a couple of years on dirt and grass instead of artificial surface, his knees and legs have come back. Henderson has stolen 69 bases so far.
Here's a guy, Griffey, who not too long ago was on the owner's move list. He wanted no part of it. And back to prove him wrong. Driven in 61, 250 hitter against the Blue Jays lifetime.
And you think of a guy that wants to stay? That'd be the thing to be the upset.
That'll be news.
Billy wants that left-handed hitter. That's why he moved Mattingly at times to the number 2 spot. He's got Griffey today, so that the catcher has to throw over the top of the head of the left-handed hitter for Henderson. He'll get more fastballs.
3-0, so Alexander behind both hitters he has faced.
Doyle can't believe it. He cannot believe the call. That's about the 3rd call that I can think of that he has argued on, or at least looked at it. He rarely says anything. He's asking Ernie where was the pitch, and Ernie that time turned on the home plate umpire Mark Johnson.
We expected some questionable calls from Johnson. We've seen them before. There's a strike.
There's no question that the boss sending the tapes to the league office and umpire's decision over the years, and with Billy's personality, he can get on you from the bench, that the fan and the New York City intimidation factor works in all areas, including umpires.
This crew worked the Tiger Blue Jay series. Questionable calls there as well. There have been in this series.
The umpires with an inside protector. Now only Jerry Neudecker left with the balloon. They get right down behind the catcher, and I don't believe they can see the outside corner. If they can see through the catcher's head, there's some. Look at where he's set up. How can he see through Ernie?
He gets blocked.
No way.
Nothing to see here, but a lazy fly ball to left for George Bell. Henderson halfway between the bases, backtracks with 1 out now. Fergie.
Don Mattingly, owner George Steinbrenner, knocked 2 or 3 of the players yesterday, and manager Billy Martin after the loss. How does that affect the guys?
Well, I don't know. I've been on that side too, and it's a thing that you kind of just take with a grain of salt. It's just the way George does things. It's his way of motivating. I think a lot of times he has good intentions. I think for the ball club, he wants us to do well. I think it's just his way of motivating people.
Is there a good chance you're going to be the most valuable player in the American League this year?
Oh, I don't know. I tell you what, I'm just trying to go out and do good things every day and try to keep us right here and give us a shot down the run here to catch Toronto. And you know, if that happens, that's great. But if not, you know, I did my best this year.
He sure has done his best this year. Sudden burst of power with 28 home runs that even he didn't know he had in him. Trying to become the first Yankee to win the RBI title since Roger Maris with 142 back in 1961. Days you remember, Tony?
Yeah, Mattingly started that home run burst last year. Didn't hit many in the minor leagues, but neither did George Brett. And a lot of that is the Charlie Lau theory of hitting. Lou Piniella, hitting instructor, an advocate of that. Not everything, but that weight shift from left to right for Mattingly.
People who saw him in the minor league said he was a little bloop hitter. That's all. He was tame as a pussycat. He couldn't hurt you.
He hit the ball the opposite way. Here's a guy who's about 175, 80 pounds. Goes barely 6 foot tall. Remember Aaron, aside from Sadaharo, of course, the greatest home run hitter in baseball history, major leagues. He was not a big guy either. But he had that great weight shift, front to back. There he goes.
Shallow left field again for Bell, and back will go Mr. Henderson with 2 away.
You cannot take anything for granted. Hit out the left field. This is the toughest left field in the game in day baseball in the spring and the fall. It is the highest park in baseball, and if you put your sunglasses down too soon, it's dark and the ball isn't out of the seats yet, and the people, if you wait too long, the sun sits right on top of the stands, and then you lose it.
I think the lights into left field at night are a problem too, because both Belly Sample and Bell almost couldn't pick up the ball in time. Started late, gambled, got past them in this series earlier. So it's no picnic day or night. Bell shielding his eyes out there now as the left or the right-handed Dave Winfield stands in. There goes Henderson. Pitch out is on, but he got such a jump, he's there.
I'm surprised that Henderson didn't do this earlier in the count. He had Griffey and Mattingly, who saw a lot of pitches. He false started just one time when they were at bat. Now he gets Winfield up. With 2 outs, he steals base number 70.
And that is just 4 shy of an all-time Yankee record that dates back to 1914.
I remember that guy. What was his name
Fritz
again?
Meisel.
Yeah, he was.
You and Fritz were roommates, weren't you?
Carthorne's covering. Ball drifts in toward the runner.
3 stolen bases by Henderson the last 2 games. Last night into today.
It's one place, Yankee Stadium, for right-handed hitters, even a strong guy like Winfield, where you can pitch inside. The left-handed hitters up there, Griffey and Mattingly, you want to keep the ball away, prevent them from pulling the ball, occasionally come in, but with a right-hander, you can bust them inside if you want.
Winfield 4 home runs behind the club leader Mattingly. Dave has 24.
And Dave was told about all the antics by the boss in the press box, and I guess the press room, he just kind of laughed and said, I've seen it all now.
He's heard it all
Nothing
before.
phases me. Here's a guy that many people will say is the best player in the game, bar none.
At his 100th RBI last night, but will do no damage here as Garth Orge tracks back on the grass at Yankee Stadium to collect this one. They strand Ricky Henderson. Alexander did not get stung by the leadoff walk he gave up. And these 2 contending teams in the American League East are scoreless through 1. Blue Jays last night got something done in that big inning that had concerned a lot of their fans. I know that I was concerned about it. That was not cashing in base runners. Left 3 on base in the first game. Had left 2 on base in a previous inning last night. And then finally they made it all pay off. But it's been a problem. This team's been getting enough hits, but not enough runs, Tony.
It's a familiar sight. Has been for, some time, I guess. A sporadic outbursts of 8 or 10 runs a game. But it's been the pitching and the defense and the base running and the little things that go unnoticed that have gotten them that 3.5 game lead.
You can't quarrel with that. Oliver takes it inside from Whitson, ball 1. Oliver had a big night, driving in 3 runs on Friday. They were all unearned over Phil Niekro, denied win number 300. And there is a strike to him, 1-1.
A lot of new kids on both benches. Billy berated his owner a couple of weeks ago for not giving him any support players off the bench. Bunch came up yesterday. After having a good time, I saw one of them get up a while ago on the Yankee bench and kind of mimic. There's Billy with Lou Piniella to his right, who may be the manager for this club within a couple of years. Who knows? The way things go around here, maybe tomorrow. You never know.
Maybe in the 5th inning.
One of those kids down there was mimicking Oliver Stant, the way he picks that right leg up. Sadaharo did that also.
Nobody laughed at him for that.
Yeah. There is the changeup that Whitson learned a couple of years ago when the finger was injured. He fell in love with it earlier this year and last year and forgot to throw his fastball when Billy took over the club from Yogi. Billy said, look, you've got a good fastball, you've got to throw it more, especially in Yankee Stadium. Make it hit with a big part of the park. Whoops, now they're going to complain.
Yeah, they got a case. It's amazing. You open a pop bottle the wrong way, you have a whole new career.
Whitson's been with the Giants. Most recently with the Padres, as we said. He's 30 years old.
Pop back, just to our left. Well, I think Scurry, while he's got that good breaking ball, it's still a semi-desperation move, I think, on the part of the Yankees.
Well, one of the surprising things with the drug scandal in Pittsburgh, and Dale Bear has been implicated in this thing, had to testify. Rod Scurry's been one of those who's been through rehab a couple of times and didn't know if they would take a chance on getting him. But he's still got a chance to be an outstanding pitcher. I don't know if he can start, but with that curveball, his curveball is almost unhittable for left-handers. Almost comes up too soon.
Tough hop for Hudler.
Young Hudler getting a chance to play in the heat of a pennant race for Willie Randolph, probably the steadiest Yankee. There's Rod Scurry.
Sun tanning. Yankees hope they don't get burned this afternoon by the sun of the Blue Jays. Ernie Whitt, tired, hanging in there. 13 straight games starting as a catcher for the Blue Jays. But of course, he's the veteran they need. Buck Martinez last night told us, Tony, that the cast is off, the rehabilitation has started. He's talking championship series.
He might be ready for it?
Yep. He's determined to get there.
Well, they've only got a pause right here.
Frisbee.
I like Anaheim, where they threw the tortillas out. They really did. Last offseason, they got to throwing those tortillas out when the game was going badly.
I've eaten their tortillas. I'd throw them out too.
The city council in Anaheim passed an ordinance that's making tortilla throwing illegal. There's a fine now. Can't have any fun at the ballpark anymore, can you?
I don't know if it's still around. There was a law in the books in Edmonton quite recently that had stayed for years and years that you could not drive a car backwards. You couldn't back your car up.
Next thing you know, they're going to put a ban on cow chip throwing.
That'll really hurt. Place might smell better, though. Up high. 2 balls and 1 strike to Ernie Whitt.
New pitching coach here, Bill Mambo Kett. Under the great Boston Red Sox pitcher. Was in the Mets organization for a while. Mark Connor did an outstanding job. All the pitchers thought. Other coaches.
Here's Hassey in search of Whitt's pop-up. 2 away. So Whitson has settled down nicely. 3 ground balls and a pop-up since allowing Mosby's single, then his stolen base. The Jays stranded him at 3rd in the 1st inning.
Hassey's been a find. He's hit some home runs. Done a good job catching. With some squabbles between Butch Weiniger in the front office also that he doesn't want to play here, so they've stopped playing him quite a bit. But Hassey can pull the ball and hit you some home runs in this ballpark with a short porch and right.
Sure did on Thursday night. A mammoth home run out to right field. A 3-run shot that sank the Blue Jays in the 1st game of this series. Rick Leach struggling, just 125. Hasn't had that many at-bats. Came in to face Necro. His experience, Bobby Cox thought, would serve him in good stead, better than young Cecil Fielder. Fielder started last night, then Leach finished up for him.
You've got to wonder if Leach had been with the ball club all year, and he certainly deserved to be after the year he had last year for them. The good year at Syracuse.
Sure did.
If the Blue Jays wouldn't have an even bigger lead than 3.5 right now if they hadn't kept the Manny Lees, and you got to keep a Manny Lee and Lewis Thornton with the prospects, and Shepard so long. They didn't have many at-bats among the 3 of them.
I think Pat Gillick has quietly admitted that in his projection, and who can be sure, that this wasn't the year for the Blue Jays to win it all, to be close again. Maybe next year is when he was projecting. He thought he might get away with it this year, and indeed, he has. There's no question about it, 3.5 games up, but a year too soon, maybe.
All of a sudden, and perhaps they've got it cinched. I still don't think the Blue Jays have it cinched, and they don't either, but they're getting those little injuries that are cropping up.
It's not been a problem.
It hasn't, but now when you get in the September and guys are tired from having played on the turf all year long, these little injuries start piling up. Mosby now with a little hamstring.
Upshaw, Garcia already parked.
Garcia. I don't care how young you are with the rigors of the modern day schedule.
1-2 down low. It is 2-2.
Detroit really hadn't been the team all year that people thought, nor has Baltimore. They've scored runs.
I think, too, Tony, you'll appreciate this time of year and agree that you might tend to overextend yourself, to just take that extra ounce, dig a little deeper, and you can get hurt doing that, too, and it means so much. Base hit for Leach.
You know, you come off, pull muscles a lot of times from tired, but also you come off the artificial surface, a firmer, and you beat your legs so on that stuff. Then you get on dirt and grass where when you make a stride, the dirt gives away and then it slips. He really stayed on that ball. Ball down in the strike zone, and Leach, and Bobby Cox said it for 2 years, a guy you'd love to have around. You can DH with him, you can play the outfield, first base, you can pinch hit. Great influence on the bench.
Here's Jesse, who got his 23rd home run last night, and a moment of laughter because everybody wants souvenirs of this series late in the season. The Blue Jay home run went over the wall, and the Yankee fans threw it right back. They didn't want it.
Listening to Frank Messer, one of the broadcasts, he'd never seen this in the Yankees game. They've been doing that in Wrigley Field with the Cubs for years.
Trouble. Griffey can't handle it. Extra base for Leach. He'll hold at third. Safe at second is Barfield, whose hot hitting continues.
Possibility of a hit and an error being charged to Griffey, because I don't believe the way Griffey got on that ball that Barfield would have had a double. It would have been first and third. A slider that just rolled center of the plate. Whitson thought it was coming right back at him, so he ducked. Jesse's so strong, he pulled it. Do not believe that as Griffey peeks, he looked up to see where the runner was. I don't think it's going to be a single and an error, but we'll see.
Should be.
Just got
yes, it is. Single and an error. That's how they scored it, just the way you scored it, Tony. So an error to Griffey for the extra base. Leach over to third. Barfield to second. Garth Orge now.
What that does with 2 outs, it removes the force at second base. Any tough play for the infielders, especially on the left side, they're going to have to go across the diamond.
They got to hurry on this. Orge streaking down.
Nice
They
play.
get him.
What a play by that kid, huh?
He's so quick.
That's pressure play.
I'll tell you, Willie Randolph with his hamstring wouldn't have come close to making that play, but Hudler gets it done.
A play like that not only excites the fans, but it also excites the team. He just saved a run. Garth, who has good running speed, watch this. Bare hand, rolling, tumbling to go to Mattingly. A run saver by Rex Hudler.
The only way he could make it, and he did. So the Blue Jays strand 2. This is Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. But the heat is on, and nobody knows it more than this man, Billy Martin here. A must-win situation. They've got to stay within 2.5. If they fall 4.5 back, it could almost be lights out time, because that means that a sweep of the Blue Jays in itself would not be enough the final weekend of the season for the Yanks to overhaul them.
Well, Toronto plays, 5th and 6th place teams until they get to the Yankees. You get at Boston, but they can throw the runs on the board. They haven't much this year. And Milwaukee, who gave them a lot of trouble. Well, last year in Milwaukee has a lot of new kids up that you don't know what you're going to get, and they're going to be loose playing for next year.
The Yankees have one game we did not mention that is a makeup from the strike tomorrow. The Indians coming in here. Joe Cowley will face Jamie Easterly, and you know how tough Cleveland was in Toronto. They have called him Babe Hasse here for what he has done in the last 17 games, 6 home runs. He's only about 660 home runs behind Babe Ruth. He's closing in.
I'll tell you, remember this spring when Ricky Henderson hurt his ankles and was in a rehab in Florida? Bobby Mercer, vice president, went down to Florida with him and had 11 at-bats in an instructional league.
Hasse fights it off and gets tossed out easily by Fernandez. One gone in the second inning. Let's go down to Fergie now.
Hitting instructor Lou Piniella, you worked a lot with Dan Pasqua. What's his capabilities?
Well, Danny is a young man that we brought up from Columbus. He tore up the International League, and he needs to gain some experience here in the major leagues. He gets a little over anxious at home plate at time and is not as selective he should be. But he's a young man that's got a lot of power. The short dimensions here in Yankee Stadium should be suited very well for him, and he's going to have an outstanding major league career. Danny is primarily a fastball hitter, but he can adjust to the breaking ball. And today he faces Doyle Alexander, and I think he'll hit him well.
Pasqua in batting practice parked one off the side under the facing out in right field, but then Jesse Barfield, who saw it, said, yeah, but in a couple of hours he'll face a little different kind of pitching.
To finish my thought on Mercer, Mercer went down at 11 at-bats in the instructional league in the rehab for Ricky Henderson. Now, they made a joke of it because he didn't do very well down there, but they were serious thoughts of getting his left-handed bat back.
Yep.
Because the left-handed power has been gone from this ball club, which you need. They have 75 home runs from left-handed hitters this year. It's Paliarulo and Pasqua and Hasse. Griffey's got some, and of course Mattingly with 28 leading the ball club.
So he's got almost more than a third of those. 2 balls and a strike. Pasco digging in much better at the plate, and I looked tentative earlier when he came up. He was named the Yankees' outstanding minor league player in their system. He had 18 home runs in Columbus this year, AAA, a team that took on Tidewater in the International League Championship Series.
He's going to strike out a lot. He led the league when he played at Nashville last year with 148 strikeouts. He struck out over 100 times one other time at Fort Lauderdale. But you will give in as far as average and let a guy strike out in this ballpark if he can reach those seats in right field and be a run producer, and that's what he's got a chance to be.
Count is 2-2.
Good changeup. Wow.
So Doyle records his first strikeout of the afternoon.
For a right-hander to throw the changeup in this ballpark with a short porch, you have to have a great changeup. That's the one they park in the right field seats. Look at the home runs that Paliarulo has thrown up there.
Well, he had a good debut in the major leagues, went 3 for 5 at his first game against the Minnesota Twins. The couple of runs driven in.
The black band that all the Yankees are wearing on that sleeve for the late Pete Sheehy, who was the clubhouse man here for many years. They've named the clubhouse after Pete. So you talk about a great Yankee. Pete Sheehy was here during the days of Ruth, Gehrig, all the other greats, DiMaggio, Rizzuto. They're talking about, I think, putting a plaque on the left center field area with all the other memorable names.
Nice touch.
Oh,
man who saw it all.
Bobby
Lived through it all.
And Pat Gillick's immediately when they heard of Pete's death a short while ago. What are we going to send? What should we do? The Blue Jays did a little nice thing, sending a memorial to a church in the area, New Jersey, that Pete, his family belonged to.
The entire team in his memory with the black stripe you see. The left arm now of Paliarulo.
Never been a Yankee plate here. The first thing they didn't do when you're out is to go into the clubhouse, to sit down at a little oak table with Pete Sheehy and find out what's going on before you talk to anybody else.
Back-to-back strikeouts for Doyle. We have 3 down. Yankees second, 2 complete now. Goose eggs all across the board here at Yankee Stadium. And this, the 4th game of the big showdown in New York. This is Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Some word pictures.
What is that, a UFO flying overhead?
I thought he was pulling a Dick Allen when Dick Allen wrote in the dirt in Philadelphia, "Trade me." In the midst of some
Yeah.
controversy there, and he sent messages to people in the stands.
Sent bottles out to sea with a note in it. Tony Fernandez led off 3 times last night. Gets a second chance here in this inning. Hustling is Paliarulo, but a fan beats him to it.
One thing you can say about these Yankees, no matter what the boss says, they haven't quit, and it shows by the way Ricky Henderson took out Damaso Garcia one of the ball games, went into his knee. The way Paliarulo almost goes into the stands. I tell you, those fans were reaching out into the playing surface. Something like that. I'm surprised Billy didn't come out. He might have had a gripe as far as fan interference. That ball might have been playable if he'd have stuck those glove out.
At home, you're supposed to get help from those people.
Oh, man, he almost got that. He did.
Mattingly stopped it, but can't get him. But a brilliant block.
He and Keith Hernandez. Wow. That ball took a bad hop, too, down. It bounded up off a little clump of dirt or something. He still got his glove on it. Saved a double. Almost turned it into an out. Yankee defense has gone unnoticed. Everybody talks about their great offense most of this year when they've made their big run. But they've caught the ball very well.
Well, certainly in the case of Mattingly, you get dazzled by his home runs and RBIs. But what about his glove? He's a Gold Glove candidate.
Nobody better in this league. Got to go to Hernandez with the Mets in the other league to find somebody that tops in.
Yeah, they're both right here in New York. Mets lost first place to St. Louis in the events of yesterday.
Kicked the ball around up in Montreal's Olympic Stadium, made 4 errors. Gary Carter was charged with 2, but I've never seen 2 unfair errors. Boy,
bad scoring.
Brutal. Oh, I think like Gary said it after the game, he thought the official scores got it in for him. Leaving town. And 1 error should have been Hernandez and 1 should have been Howard Johnson's. They gave them both to Gary. It was ridiculous.
That trade worked out a lot better for the Expos than many people thought. It certainly has worked out well for the Mets. So Mosby, with a base hit behind him in the first inning, ducking back into first base is Tony Fernandez. 1 strike count to Lloyd. There's nobody out here in the Jays' 3rd. Dodgers have it all but locked up. They beat the Reds last night, lead them 3-0 here this afternoon. It'll be 10.5 if they win this one.
They pitched out. Tony may have been going. He gave a false start, but he is such a smart player. He may have seen not the pitch outside, but many times a pitcher speeds up his delivery. And when he speeds up his delivery, he does two things. He's either speeding up to come to first base for a pickoff move, or he's speeding it up to get the ball faster to his catcher. Goes away from his regular delivery. Might be going.
Yep. Nope, ball start. And foul away. Out of play by Mosby.
I think Tony can really steal more bases than he does. He's got 13. And like Ozzie Smith with the Cardinals, and you've got the Vince Colemans and the Willie McGee's around you, the Van Slykes, and some of the other base stealers, why run your shortstop down? And it's the same with him. He plays so hard, Fernandez, that if you were to try and steal more, which gets rough on your legs and the sliding, if you go head first, it might hurt you defensively over the long haul.
Blue Jays have had base runners in each of the first 2 innings. Unproductive so far. Lloyd fights it off and hangs in a 1-2. Mosby has really excelled in that number 2 spot since he got it permanently late in July.
Mets are beating Montreal 5-1. That's in the third. LA keeps on going. Third inning, they're beating Cincinnati 3-0.
Yeah, that's all but over.
Just about over. You're exactly right.
The Cards and Mets show signs of going right down to the wire.
Kansas City with a 3-game lead over California in the West. Making that same run they did last year. Another pitch out. Billy calls those many times, right from the dugout.
You got the 2 teams, the best second half last year, figuring in it this year with good second halves, the Yankees and the Royals.
Now here's the call right here. There's the Dodgers score with that great pitching staff, and Guerrero just pulling the offense along. Here's the count right here. Cox likes to run on 2-2. I'm sure Doug Holmquist and Clyde King advanced scout. But do you pitch out and go to 3-2? I believe
it's tough.
If he pitched out and went 3-2, he might have a chance to get Fernandez. We'll see.
Nope, Tony is off. Base hit. He'll get an extra base all the way to third, despite Winfield's great arm.
He pitches out and goes 3-2 on the count. He's got Fernandez dead. But it would have been a brazen call for Billy Martin or Hassey to make. Fernandez is on the move right here, and Lloyd goes down and get the pitch he likes best, down in the strike zone. And Whitson and the Yankees are in big trouble.
First and third, nobody out. Mosby has gone 2 for 2 with this base hit. Fernandez comfortably over to third base for Rance Mullenix. Mullenix has hit .304 against the Yankees this year.
Billy Martin can't afford to wait too long with the importance of this game. Difference could be the Blue Jays going to 4.5. The Yankees win. It could be down to 2.5. So he might have that bullpen going very, very quickly. Can't leave anybody in too long.
Long foul ball. Mullenix 395 with people in scoring position. That's where Fernandez is at third base. Scarf day at Yankee Stadium. Certainly too warm to wear it seriously.
Left-handers going now for the Yankees. It's not Rod Scurry, though.
Fouls it back the other way to go 2 strikes quickly. Dennis Rasmussen is the man warming up for the Yankees.
There he is, Rasmussen.
Up from Columbus.
Billy's got 4 left-handers in his bullpen. Rasmussen, Deshays, Scurry, and Righetti.
Base hit for Mullenix will give the Blue Jays a 1-0 lead here in the Toronto third. RBI number 52 for him.
If you like the opening that you saw with the song and the beat of The Heat Is On, job that Mercado director, our producer Tom McKee put together. Was a really great opening, I thought. The heat is on even further now, and it's continuing that way. And it's on the Yankees because there's still nobody out.
That graphic illustration, as you look at Bobby Cox in the shadows there of the Heat, was that racetrack fire at Arlington in Chicago a couple of months ago.
Billy just yelled out to Paliarulo to go have a little talk. Saves him a trip to the mound, have a talk with Whitson. stall for a little time for the left-hander Rasmussen to get loose. Also to make sure if there is a bunt, which is unlikely, they don't mess up the communications. Caliarulo back at third.
George Bell hits it deep, deep to left field. Way back goes Griffey, can't get it. Here comes another Toronto run. It is 2-0 Blue Jays, and they're at second and third. Still nobody out.
Here comes Billy. The boos are not for Martin. Maybe some of them are, because a lot of people still miss Yogi around here. Had the best record in baseball the second half last year for this Yankee team. Breaking ball has just stayed down the middle of the plate. I believe in days baseball, this ball is hit pretty hard. Without the sun, that Griffey might have had a shot. When you battle the sun and a line drive like that, makes it tougher. Circles the ball just a little bit. But George Bell gets at least one in. Still nobody out. Willie's giving up quite a few bases on balls. 40 and 97 innings pitched. 9 home runs.
Serves some time in Columbus.
San Diego Padres in 83 for a while. Yankees up in 84 for a while.
I'll tell you what the Blue Jays have succeeded in doing, Tony, is really they have dipped into this Yankee pitching staff. They have made them work. That's something that Billy Martin wanted to avoid if he possibly could. Last night, Jimmy Key, the only man who saw action for the Blue Jays.
It's really down when you look back. It isn't just this, well, now to the 4th game, but it's been going that way for the last couple of months for the Yankees. Guidry will give you the good game, Niekro will give you the good game, and then it's up for grabs the rest of the starters. So the bullpen, coming in tired to start with for a big series, hasn't helped.
And here's Cliff.
I mean, they just happened to be scoring 9 runs a game is what they were doing.
That's what's carried them.
They played Milwaukee, won a 13-10 ball game. There's Mullick's on third. Bell's at second.
Nobody out. The dangerous Johnson takes strike 1 from Rasmussen. 7 Blue Jay hits are on the board. The potential for more, but just 2 up so far in the way of runs. Johnson with a major league record, 19 pinch hit home runs in his career. Got that with the Blue Jays last year.
Oh, what a
base hit. He'll cash in 2 more. What a move, bringing Johnson back from Texas by Pat Gillick. It's 4-0 for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Billy trying to shut off further scoring. Had to play his infield in. Cliff Johnson got a running fastball, tailing away. Went the other way. Drives it right through the infield. He knew, because he's been with this Yankee ball club and played for Billy, how they were going to try and pitch him, and he went with it nicely.
That's a sign of a veteran and good batting eye like Johnson, too good attitude. He didn't have to take this thing downtown. Just what he did is enough to score 2 runs, and he got the job done. Ernie Whitt with Johnson at first base. Still a 0 into the out column here in the Blue Jay 3rd inning. Whitt attempts to bunt, takes ball 1. The Yankees are a shaken team right now with what has happened last night and today.
Surprised me a little bit that Ernie squared around to sacrifice with Leach, another left-hander behind him. If there were a right-hander behind him, although... Is that Bordy again?
Yep. Rich Bordy made a brief appearance last night, gave way to Righetti.
Of course, if Ernie Whitt gets him over, Bobby's got the right-handed pinch hitters he could send out.
Outside, Whitt is ahead 2-0.
A lot of bench strength at this time of the year.
Ernie with 16 home runs. Got a big one in game 1 of this series. Will tie his personal best with his next home run. Slow roller, but not slow enough to prevent the double play. So they erase Johnson and Whitt. 2 gone in the Blue Jay 3rd.
Gene Michael, the former Yankee manager, now the third base coach, has done a lot of work with Bobby Meacham. Meacham was once a product or the property of the St. Louis Cardinals, but they had that guy named Ozzie Smith, so he was expendable. He came over as a very rough-hewn shortstop. Michael has calmed him down, he makes a lot of errors throwing, but he's gotten a lot better.
Leach got a single last time up, was stranded at third base. Blue Jays left both base runners in the 2nd. A total of 3 on the day, but they have certainly made the most of them here in the 3rd inning.
You've got to keep piling it on against this Yankee team, though. Even though Doyle's out there and he's pitched so well and become again the stopper out of the starting rotation, they can hit you with a 6-spot in 1 inning in a hurry. So you got to keep, like Rambo, you got to be against them. Go for blood.
Leach fouls it back, 2-1. They have Louisiana Lightning and Ron Guidry, and they have had what they call a 10 o'clock thunder here at Yankee Stadium. But last night the skies were clear and calm. The Yankee bats couldn't generate the comeback. Leach into right field. That's going to go down in the corner and give him an extra base, although Winfield's arm will deny that with that bounce off the wall. Look at the throw.
Now with that short porch out there where the ball gets back in a hurry, and Winfield, one of the best athletes in this game.
Like Rasmussen.
Yeah, Rasmussen hung a slider. You can see where it just stays up there for Leach to hit. Inside part of the plate. He's trying to overthrow just a little bit. At one time before the refurbishing of this stadium, remember the Yankees played over in Shea Stadium for a couple of years while they redid this. That was just 296 in the right field corner, but it went out very fast. They've shortened the dimensions considerably in center, right center, and left center field. Still a good pitcher's park, but at one time, oh, the pitchers love to come in here, especially if you're left-handed.
Well, it does produce, as we saw with Mosby last night, the game's longest singles. Again for Leach right now. He's at first base for Jesse Barfield, a 1-0 count to Barfield. That'll go the other way. Griffey tried to round it up and let it bounce off the wall. He makes the mistake. It's going to cost him a run. All the way from first base comes Leach. It's a 5-0 game. The ball is thrown into the crowd. The Yankees are falling apart.
Meacham uncorked, and another run will score. The ball got by Griffey in the tough corner in left field. And then when Meacham got the relay, he uncorked it into row number 2 alongside the Yankee dugout. He'll get an air. Billy is going to the bullpen. This looks like batting practice the way the Blue Jays are swinging this inning.
Sure does.
Ball sneaks by Griffey. Watch Meacham. He gets a lot on this baby.
A lot. He almost killed somebody in row 2.
He needed a 150-foot throw, and he made a 400-foot throw. He threw as hard as he could, folks. Look at Jesse go down and get another breaking ball, look like a slider. They're set up properly. The relay man, Meacham's got it. Barfield decided to hold, and the pitcher, Rasmussen, there to back it up. Says, who do you think I am? Patrick Ewing, he hasn't signed yet.
Even he couldn't bring it down. Blue Jays are going to hit around here in the 3rd inning. They sent 10 men up last night in their big uprising. So Rich Bordy, a guy the Blue Jays have had pretty good success with, will replace a dejected Dennis Rasmussen.
I would think they will give Barfield a double.
Yeah.
The judgment of the scorer, Red Foley, I believe, newspaper writer, will be they'll give an air for sure to Meacham, but will be whether or not to give Barfield an RBI. Would Leach have scored from first base? So they've probably given him, they give Barfield a double, an RBI, an error to Meacham.
Yep. Rangers losing 3 of 4 to this Toronto club.
They have got the best record in baseball in their home park. Has made their pitching look a little bit better than it has any right to be because of this monstrous ballpark and dirt and grass.
That's what the Blue Jays have done all the more incredible.
Yeah, up at Exhibition Stadium, too, to get the league's leading ERA, an artificial surface in that bandbox. Falling apart, well,
it's about the story.
They're still not out of it. But they don't look good today, like the Mets yesterday up in Montreal.
Didn't look good last night. Ron Hasse, catching Bordy, came with him, along with Henry Cotto from the Cubs for Ray Faulkner.
With this crowd today, this is expected to be the largest 4-game crowd series in the history of the American League. Where are they going to go?
210 to 15,000, over 50,000 each night. It is the largest crowd over 4 days the Blue Jays have ever appeared before.
It's interesting, guys. Garth Orr just had 5 hits in this series so far. He had 3 last night, 2 Friday night, but he said he hit the ball better Thursday night and he didn't get a base hit. He said it's better to be lucky than good sometimes.
Yep.
This guy throws a lot of breaking balls, slider and curveballs. He'll sink the fastball on occasion, but generally to right-handed hitters, it's breaking ball after breaking ball.
You know what another distinction that Mr. Bordy has? He was the final player signed by Charlie Finley. Foul ball, long way down the third base side.
When you throw a lot of breaking balls, sooner or later, you're going to hang one. The kinds of pitches the hitters like to jump all over.
Cubs left him off the roster for the playoffs last year. Rich Forty was a little upset by that. Then the trade to New York.
He's had one game start. This is his 48th appearance. Orange goes after a high slider, but a lot of damage is done as the Blue Jays hit around.
6 being a lot. The Blue Jays have 10 hits in the ball game, and they lead the New York Yankees 6-0 with a stunning third inning here in the Bronx. This is
knowing the couple of hitters will be watching. Threw what, 2 his last outing. There was a time this season he was throwing 25 or 30 when he had trouble with the fastball, getting behind hitters and then getting hit hard by the home run. He's all but given up on the knuckleball, except to occasionally show it to them.
He's had naps that weren't as long as the one he had on the bench here, while the Blue Jays sent 9 men to the plate in that last inning.
A younger pitcher, you might be concerned, but Doyle, a veteran, knows how to handle that kind of stuff, how to keep warm and loose.
Hudler with a base hit in triple last night. A guy that they say hasn't got a great bat. He's got outstanding speed. We saw that. But he came through offensively for the Yankees last night, losing 7-4 cause.
He's hit for average a few years in the minor leagues, but not with a whole lot of power. But if he can turn the double play, steal you a base, hit the opposite field. There is the Steinbrenner blocks, I believe.
Yeah, McMahon and just having the snack is Doug Creighton.
Don't see the
Toronto
boss.
Sun. He's probably on the phone somewhere.
Flying down to the dugout.
Tearing the phone off its moorings.
Can you fire 40 guys and bring up a minor league team?
Yeah, you own the club, you can do whatever you want. If you'd like to. I think that what he said is probably frustration just pouring out of the owner. But it hasn't helped this team today.
Still got a ways to go, though.
It's early, bottom of the third, but it's 6-0 Toronto. Shallow center field. Orge converging, makes the play.
And both Garth Orge and Tony Fernandez know Lloyd's leg is sore and he's got a long way to run. They're going out to help out. Well, we're going to try it again today, folks. Poland chainsaws, dependable and priced right. Sold by dealers you can rely on. From cutting firewood to felling big timber, you can rely on Poland chainsaws.
Nicely done, backed by popular demand. Tony's version of the chainsaw message.
Without a hitch.
It was not the Chainsaw Massacre this time.
It was brutal the last time I read that.
You're back.
I hope they're back.
Good point.
They pay part of our salary. Mullick's come in tight. Case Meacham tries to drop a bunt out. Doyle, a pretty good fielding pitcher. He reacts well.
Bobby Meacham would love to atone with the bat for what he did with his arm, throwing that ball in the seats. He lifts it into right field, a little lazy fly ball. Barfield takes it in for the second out. Doyle's only allowed 1 base runner. That was the man coming up next, Ricky Henderson, to start the game. Walked him, and Ricky stole a base before Alexander put out that little fire, and that's as far as the Yankees have gone on the way of a threat. The heat is on as Henderson stands in there. There's a CTV show called Night Heat. They, some of the crew on that show, the cast, sponsor a Little League team in Leaside. They won a championship yesterday. Hernandez throwing out. Ricky Henderson quickly, and just a pitch from Alexander. 3 up, 3 down for the Yankees. A spark right there in the Yankee third. 3 complete now in the Bronx. There it is, 6-0 for the Jays. This is Labatt's Blue Jays base.
Bordy, Whitson started. Rasmussen, the left-hander. Paliarulo up tight at third with Tony Fernandez. Fernandez soft liner to short. Infield single, and he scored leading off the third.
Usually you don't get your leadoff hitter to lead off more than 1 inning to start of the ball game. But Tony 3 times last night, 3 times here today.
2 balls, no strikes from Bordy. In the corner, it may hook.
Yep.
Wow.
Ooh.
Just barely tailed off past past the 3-10 sign at the foul pole. So it'll be 2 balls and a strike on Tony Fernandez. The Yankees are 51 wins, 18 losses as we look at Fernandez shot in the right field corner as Bordy holds his breath, but it hooks foul. 51-18. That is the best home record in baseball in the major leagues. On the road, they are 2 games below 500, 35-37. Breaking ball, count goes 2 balls, 2 strikes.
The difference is the Jays rank right behind them in home performance, but way ahead of them on the road.
On the road, the Blue Jays are 41-31, 10 games above 500, 49-21 at Exhibition Stadium. Breaking ball, foul back. Count will stay 2 balls, 2 strikes.
That 6-run uprising equals the Blue Jays' best single-inning performance this year.
They've done that for the 6th time now, haven't they?
Yep.
2 balls, 2 strikes, nobody out. Blue Jays 6 runs, 10 hits, no errors. The Yankees, no runs, no hits, 2 errors. Meacham's got it, 1 out. Now it'll be Lloyd Moseby, 2 for 2 in a ball game, a stolen base, a run scored, and he's also pulled a little hamstring. And when you get a big lead and you've got a valuable property like this, Bobby Cox, maybe too early yet, has got to start thinking of getting him out of there. If the lead holds up much longer, giving him the off day tomorrow, hope he can come back on Tuesday night up in Boston. Breaking ball, strike.
Boy, the Jays have a score to settle with the Red Sox after what Boston did to them in that 4-game sweep back in June at Fenway.
Well, Bob Stanley, who, according to written reports we got, said he's going to get Bell after Bell charged the mound, but Bob Stanley's not going to get George Bell this year. It was a silly thing to say because Bobby Brown, the league president, reads too.
Yeah.
And it came out in some papers. Whether it was an accurate quote or not, I don't know. But Bob Stanley had some surgery on his pitching hand, a little growth in his thumb, I believe, so he is gone for the season. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Sorry, Tony, good news today for New York fans is the Jets lead Buffalo 28-3, 3rd quarter in the NFL.
Over the Meadowlands, is it?
Yeah.
Or is it?
Yeah, they are. The Giants are on the road.
Yeah.
They're in Green Bay.
Base hit. Moseby is 3 for 3. So Lloyd's bat getting hot at the right time.
Sure is.
Moseby's average pushed up to 262 going in today, and with that 3 for 3 performance, he's at least at 267 or 268, I would think. So he's got another base hit.
Hitting around 290 since he took the number 2 spot over.
So he's got a hit off Whitson. I guess he got 2 hits off Whitson, didn't he? I don't think he got 1 off Rasmussen. He's got 2 off Whitson and now 1 off Bordy.
Yes.
1 out, 6-0 Toronto. 11 hits thrown on the board by Toronto, and there's just 1 out in the 4th. Strike to Mullins. He is grounded out, single, driven in a run. Breaking ball, base hit past a diving Hudler. Henderson will not get Moseby at 3rd. They are at the corners again with just 1 out. Mullins, 2 for 3 in the ball game. It looks like the kind of day where you're going to see Ed Whitson, the starter, and the staff for the Yankees.
Yes. Kind of day 2 and maybe an inning or so, 1 more beer, 1 more hot dog. We may see this stadium empty out. People deciding there are better things to do on a Sunday afternoon.
You see manager Bobby Cox there, guys. He's sitting right in the middle of the dugout. That's something that he normally doesn't do. Maybe it's a little superstitious thing that he has about this series. Usually he's at one end or the other, but not for this 4-game series.
He's had a bad touch of the flu.
George Bell, as Bordy misses with a breaking ball. Bell has double driven home run and scored and grounded out. 6-0. 1st and 3rd, 1 out. Popped up, should be out of play. It is 1-1 to George Bell. Billy Martin. Should say Billy 4, I guess. He fired pretty hard 4 times. There is the home road record. Yogi,
6
who
and 10 when
managed,
he came along under Yogi.
Yogi, who managed 16 ball games.
Yeah.
Let go. 1-1, 1 down. Breaking ball misses wide. Bordy falls behind 2-1. For Yogi, coming out of spring training, didn't have a healthy Henderson. Mattingly, some surgery, didn't have any spring training, or very little. Winfield hardly had any spring training. He was hurt. Breaking ball stays too high. 3 balls and 1 strike to George Bell as Bordy is struggling.
Well, I guess the boss, as you look at the on-deck man, Johnson, would say, look what the Yankees have done under Martin. But who's to say they wouldn't have done the very same thing with Yogi?
Yankees bullpen up again. There goes the runner. Popped up behind home plate. Hasse couldn't find it. Now he does. So Mulnix, who's on the move, will help to come back in a 3-1 pitch. There are 2 outs as Bell goes down. It'll bring up Cliff Johnson.
And who drove in 2 of those runs in the big outburst in the 3rd inning.
Another left-hander up in the Yankee bullpen. Rod Scurry over from the Pirates.
Cliff Johnson.
One of those, along with Dale Berra, Dave Parker, and on, who were called to testify. The drug hearing, or the drug case of Curtis Strong. What a mess.
Yep.
2 outs, 1st and 3rd. Blue Jays lead 6-0. Doyle Alexander once more, having a long set down on the bench. He is not yet allowed a hit through 3 innings. Johnson with a base hit with the infield in, pinch hitting for Oliver in the 3rd, driving home 2. Got a chance to pad his RBI total right now. 1 strike from Bordy on a slider.
Even Willie Mays' name got dragged into that.
Pete Rose and some tests. Mike Schmidt, things stricken from the record. You just don't know how much is erroneous testimony, hearsay. 1 ball, 1 strike to Johnson. Get a little tired and you throw a lot of innings, and Bordy pitched yesterday. You start hanging that breaking ball. He just hung 1, but it stayed too far inside. 1-1, 2 outs. Mosby at 3rd, Mulnix at 1st. One ball, 2 strikes to Heathcliff. You know, when you look, and we're got 2 down in the 4th inning. There are only 2 spots in the lineup don't have base hits. Orge is 0 for 2, and Witt is 0 for 2. 12 base hits for the Blue Jays here in Yankee Stadium today. 1-2. He gets him, looked like a little fastball, a little sinker. So, 2 stranded for the Blue Jays as Bordy pitches out of it. Middle of the 4th here at Yankee Stadium. Blue Jays 6, Yankees nothing. Blue Jays with a 3.5 lead, and Griffey, Mattingly, and Winfield will face Doyle Alexander, the winningest Blue Jay pitcher thus far this year with 15. He's lost 8 times. Griffey getting some hoots for a couple of balls that were hit into that tough Sunfield out in left field.
Got a fire over there outside the left field wall.
Mr. Steinbrenner with some signals for help. How do you say SOS in Inuit?
Or in the Bronx.
Griffey fly to left field his first time up. Bottom of the 4th. Alexander has not allowed a hit. A strike very quickly, and that shadow beginning to creep across home plate. It'll be there in a couple of innings. Then it gets very, very difficult to hit in this park. Change up, runs low, 1-1. There's the shadow in a couple of innings in the spring and the fall of the year. On a bright day like this, it's tough in left field. It's tough later on in center field, and it gets awfully tough to hit. 2-1 to Ken Griffey. But it used to be really tough when this park sat over 70,000 people, when they would sit people in dead center field with white shirts on, and then the shadows would come, and you might as well say goodbye because you couldn't see anything at the plate. Now they have painted it. Nobody sits there. Used to be where it's 410, used to be 461 feet. The monuments were out in fair territory. The flagpole was there too. You could play a ball. In fact, I saw Jimmy Pearsall. Monuments out there, of course, to Ruth, Gehrig, Huggins, plaques for DiMaggio, a couple of Popes. Fly ball, tough sun field, glasses down, Bale shades his eyes, he's got it, so Griffey's down. One out in the fourth. Right now, let's go down to the field and Fergie Albert.
Yankee hitting instructor Lou Piniella. What makes Don Mattingly such a great hitter?
Well, Donnie is an excellent hitter, as we all know. He was the American League batting champion last year. Donnie can use a whole field to hit with. He can hit the ball for power. He can drive in key runs with men in scoring position. He adjusts well at home plate, doesn't strike out often. He's just a good all-around hitter. He makes contact. There's no certain way to pitch him. When you have all those qualities going for you, plus the fact that he works as hard as anybody else at his hitting skills, and he wants to be the best hitter in baseball, you've got a good product.
Fly ball left field. Alexander keeps the ball away. Look at Bale battling. He lost it, and he stayed with it, but it went off his glove. It'd be tough for the official score. Because it hit his glove, you would say give him an error, but in this field, you never know what the official score is going to do. So Mattingly's on. It would be tough to give Mattingly a hit on that because it is the first hit of the ball game against Doyle Alexander. Yeah, we're only in the fourth with one out. Watch, you'll see that he lost the ball, can't find. Now he picks it up, but it never really came out of the sun. I don't care how dark of glasses you use in this ballpark. If it's in the sun, it doesn't matter. And it is tough. And George Bale's finding out about it. He's afraid to play all night games here. E7. So Mattingly's on second base with Dave Winfield, who popped up in the first. 6-0 Toronto. They lead the East and the New York Yankees by 3.5. Time is called by Winfield. The electronic scoreboard is orchestrating some cheers. Isn't that sad when you let the fans be spontaneous, especially in a great old park like this with all its tradition? Got to tell them when to clap and when to get loud, louder.
They've been getting quiet and quieter here.
Winfield with 100 RBIs, fourth consecutive year. He has 24 home runs. He plays every day. From the side, pulled foul. 1-1 at Dave Winfield. Winfield, of course, drafted by a couple of other pro sports. NFL, National Basketball Association, and the American Basketball Association. He chose baseball in the San Diego Padres when he came over here. It's like a bunch of robots. Loud, louder, and they do.
Do what they're told.
Ball and a strike with Mattingly down at second base. From the side, base hit left field. Mattingly had to hold to make sure they will send him on. Bell goes to home plate, and what poor decision by Gene Michael. 6 runs down, and the bullet thrown from deep left field by George Bell as Mattingly is out. The first hit off Alexander, but when you're 6 runs down, you play base to base. Mattingly had to hold up, didn't get a good jump off second base in case the line drive was caught. Michael still thought he had him. You might remember a few years ago when Mike Ferraro was coaching in the playoffs, League Championship Series, and the boss got all over him in front of Mike Ferraro's wife for losing a runner at home plate. Bell uncorks a great throw. Ernie puts the tag on. Mattingly is gone. It is still a 6-0 ball game. And things are going wrong in a hurry for the Yankees and the coaching staff.
So the ball off Bell's glove didn't hurt him. The great throw erased it.
You know, when you look at that throw comes all the way home, and Winfield doesn't go to second base either. As soon as he saw that throw launch from left field, he shouldn't have been standing on first, folks. So this team is down. Not out yet, but it's getting close. Hasse grounded out in the second. Alexander drops behind him. 2 balls, no strikes. Wow. Third Gene Michael, one of the best third base coaches in the business, figuring Mattingly could score easily. And really, was about to say, when there's Gene, former Yankee manager, executive. When Bell uncorked that throw, I thought he threw to the wrong base. I thought he should have thrown to second because there was no chance. But Mattingly kind of stumbled around, got a bad jump, didn't slide till the end at home plate. There's going to be more heat on after this game. Time is called, no pitch. No pitch. First base umpire, Dan Morrison, was calling time, and that is no pitch. Don't know what happened if Winfield requested time. It's kind of a silly thing to do. Alexander is saying something. How can you do that? The hitter didn't request it. I'm in my motion, and you're giving time. There's Winfield with Leach at first base, and the 6-0 lead playing behind him.
That's much too late to call timeout.
A strike to Hasse. So, a walk to Henderson leading off the ball game. He stole second, was left stranded. He was one base runner. Then Alexander retired 10 in a row. So Mattingly got on in the air. Left fielder George Bell. Winfield singled. Bell threw Mattingly out at home plate. Now Hasse, another base runner, first and second. Pasqua, who struck out in the second. The shadows creep closer here in the Bronx. 6-0 Blue Jays. Ball one. I don't believe Alexander liked that pitch either. Probably too low. You get 2 men out, a left-handed hitter up with some power. He turns on the ball, and you can have 6-3 in a hurry. So you better have a little bloodlust in you when you come into this ballpark, like you find when you get here from the cab drivers and the bus drivers and the fans.
They're all experts, aren't they?
Yeah, when you get this team down, you better stomp all over them because they can come back quickly. They haven't played this well at home for nothing. They can throw the runs on the board in a hurry. 2-0 to Pasqua, a left-handed pull hitter with 2 men on. Alexander continued to try and keep the ball away. He ran the count to 3 balls, no strikes. Paliarulo, a home run hitter up behind him. So Billy may put the tank sign on 3-0. Try and load him up. Paliarulo, who has hit 18 home runs for this ball club.
This guy's hit 9, Pasqua.
3-0. Ball 4. The bases are loaded. Alexander shaking his head, saying to Witt and home plate umpire Mark Johnson, you got to be kidding me. Ernie is trying to calm him down, and Mark Johnson has no business doing this. Walking all the way out to the mound because he may have missed a few pitches. Bobby Cox will go out now. He may not say anything on the way back, because if he argues a ball and strike call, he's automatically ejected. So he may go out on the mound, stand there until Johnson comes to him. We'll see. And then Bobby can have his piece. They're loaded up with 2 outs. Mike Paliarulo, who struck out in the second, with the Yankees trailing 6-0. Bobby Cox will say nothing to the umpires.
Johnson knows what he's thinking. He doesn't have to say anything.
He perhaps has resigned himself to the fact that, hey, if you argue in this park, you might incite the fans more, incite the Yankees. There's Winfield. He's single, the only base hit off Alexander this game. He's at third. Hasse walked. He's at second. Pasqua just walked. He is at first with Paliarulo up. A ball.
And a slap-up throwing.
And Steve Davis, the young left-hander. I thought he was scheduled to get a start up in Boston. He still might, but you need left-handers in this ballpark to counteract the short porch and right and all the left-handed hitters. Cox has Laval, Cerruti, Clark, and Davis in the bullpen from the left side today here at Yankee Stadium. Alexander cannot believe it. 2 balls, no strikes. Here's a guy over his last 6 or 7 outings has not walked very many. He has walked 3 so far in this ballgame, 2 consecutively in this inning. Paliarulo will be swinging. He pops it up. Garth Thorns with a lot of room, so the Yankees will probably strand 3. They do. Alexander forced to throw a lot more pitches than it looked like he ought to. Yankees strand 4 in this ballgame after 4. When Gene Michaels came back to the dugout after Paliarulo popped up with the bases loaded, he and Billy Martin had a little discussion after Mattingly was thrown out at home plate, down by 6 runs on the Winfield single.
One-way discussion. Only one man was talking, Billy.
Oh, way you do it. With Billy and with the boss. You listen. Ernie Witt, Rick Leach, Jesse Barfield against the third Yankee pitcher. Rich Bordy off the end of the bat on a breaking ball. Paliarulo will throw Witt out to Mattingly. 1 out. 6 runs, 12 hits, 1 error for Toronto for the Yankees. No runs, 1 hit, 2 errors. The Nikon FG. There's an SLR camera with automatic, manual, and pre-programmed modes for brilliant 35mm pictures. The Nikon FG. Simple enough to start with, sophisticated enough to stay with. Nikon. We take the world's greatest pictures. And if you look around Yankee Stadium or see the Sports Illustrated photographers, you will see the Nikon in use by almost everyone. With their finely ground lenses to give you clarity and conciseness.
Don't take it too far now. You're doing fine.
Rick Leach, 2 for 2 ball game, filling in for Willie Upshaw. Hudler roaming to his left. What range that kid's got. 2 easy outs for Rich Bordy. That hasn't happened too often in this ball game. You've got to go back to the first when Mulnix and Bell each grounded out to Hudler at second base. Willie Randolph with a pulled hamstring, missing this series, these games. So there are 2 outs. It's Jesse Barfield. He is 2 for 2, a single, a double, a run scored, and a couple of RBIs. Two outs, 1 strikeout, Jesse. Breaking ball missed away, 1-1. If you joined us late, Blue Jays in the third with 6 runs on 7 base hits. They batted around. Whitson started. Dennis Rasmussen, the left-hander, came on in the third to pitch to Cliff Johnson, who pinch hit for Oliver. Johnson immediately with the infield drawn in. Base hit to right field, 2 RBIs. Now it's Bordy, breaking ball, strike 1 and 2. 2 outs. Alexander had to struggle through a 4th where he walked the cover in air. A base hit, pitched out of it. Look out, but he'll probably hook foul. A hanging breaking ball that Jesse drives to the upper deck. There's never been a fair hit ball hit out of Yankee Stadium. Frank Howard hit one over the left field foul pole that went out years ago in that area when there was a little more of an overhang with the scalloping. They called it foul. Bobby Shantz, the pitcher. Third baseman Clete Boyer swore it went out fair. It was a foul ball, closest one ever to go out. A shot, the Mick hit in right field. They've estimated that baby at 550 to 600 feet. 1 and 2. Breaking ball rides inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Mick back working television now. Heard him a little bit when I came in from Montreal last night. Working with his scooter, Bill White. End of the bat on a slider. Hudler. 3 ground ball outs off the bats of Witt, Leach, and Barfield. 3 up, 3 down inning, middle of the 5th here at Yankee Stadium. 6-0 Toronto. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Have had a treat all year long. Remember, it started last year. Pat Gillick went out. Strengthened the ball club this year. Chopped fouls. Mulnix, who was in tight for Rex Hudler. Hudler hitting out of the A spot. He popped up in the 3rd, followed by Meacham and then Henderson, the leadoff hitter. Alexander is allowed just 1 base hit. That to Dave Winfield in the 4th inning. 6-0 Toronto. They are trying to win 3 of 4 here. First time in, they won 2 of 3 ball games, all close ball games, and they beat up on the bullpen a little bit that time. Close games. So they've got a chance to sweep the season series here in Yankee Stadium. I don't know if any other team has done that. And sweep it handily if they can come up with a win today. 1-1 from the side. Fouled off on a play.
The Jays haven't won an overall season series from the Yankees since 1982. 7 games to 6 that year.
Well, they were 2 out of the 3 here the first time in, 2 of 3 in this series.
Lost 2 of 3 in Toronto.
So even if the Yankees come back and lose this, they will have won the series here in Yankee Stadium. Ball and 2 strikes with nobody out. From the side, a changeup. Rance Mullins to Leach, 1 down.
The kid's got speed going down there, I believe.
Shortstop, Bobby Meacham.
The Yankees are leading the American League in runs scored. They have scored 754.
The coach.
I would guess that speaking of sports.
He's here for the big
He's all
series.
over the place, isn't this guy?
First man I saw when I came down for breakfast on Thursday morning, Friday morning, there he was.
He's been a great friend and support of mine and yours too. I know he's helped you do a lot of boxing for ABC, TV and radio. Get involved in the Olympics in Sarajevo. He's a very loyal guy. You can dislike him if you like on camera. Off camera, if you get to know him and sit down and have a little pop with him, he's a pretty decent guy.
Yep, he's all right.
To say the least. 1 out, 2 balls, no strikes. To Bobby Meacham. He flied to right in the 3rd.
The only person Howard really doesn't like right now is Pete Rozelle. He's all over his case week after week.
3 balls, no strikes. Alexander on the verge. Now he just does. Walks his 4th Yankee. That was a problem earlier in the year for Doyle, getting behind and giving up walks, and then the home runs followed. Getting behind in the count. Hitter sitting on a certain pitch. Leach will hold Meacham on at this point with Henderson, who has walked, stole a base, and grounded out. Al Widmar, the man with his back to you, talking to Bobby Cox. Widmar, of course, who's done such a magnificent job in a small ballpark on turf. Blue Jays having the best ERA in the American League. A ball to Henderson. Henderson has had 100+ walk years before. So far this season, he has walked 86 times. He always has an extremely high on-base percentage. He's got that crouch. 1 ball, 1 strike now to him. With 1 out, Blue Jays leading it 6-0. From the side, right on the outer edge. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Henderson doesn't like it. Mets leading over Montreal 5-2 in the 8th. Cardinals with a half-a-game lead in the Eastern Division National League over the New York Mets.
That's a great race. So is this one, till recently.
It's still got a chance to go down to those 3 games against the Yankees. Chop foul by Henderson. It'll stay at 1-2. And still the possibility of that makeup game against Baltimore after the season is over with. And then if it ended up in a tie, I don't know if the coin has been flipped yet. The Yankees and the Blue Jays would have to play 1-game playoff game. Remember the last time the Yankees were involved in one of those up in Boston? Bucky Dent hit a home run into the screen off Torres to win it. Right back at Doyle. Bad base running. You're down 6 runs. You got to wait till the ball hits the ground. Don't care even if it's back at the pitcher. So they double up Bobby Meacham. The dealing, I'm pretty sure.
All right, back with you, and we saw him a moment ago. Howard Cosell has joined us here in the booth.
What do you say, pal?
Tony Kubek. Great series it started out to be, Howard.
It started out to be, but it's ending as a catastrophe quite clearly for the Yankees.
They are falling apart, as the headline today in the Daily News suggested.
Oh, don't tell me the Daily News finally caught up with obvious truth.
Can you sit in with us for a while, Howard?
Sure.
Pull up
Okay,
a chair,
pull up a
pal.
chair.
Right here, we're in the top of the sixth. The third Yankee pitcher, Rich Sporty. Whitson started. Rasmussen came out. Garth Orge, Tony Fernandez, Lloyd Mosby. Alexander's allowed just one base hit, that by Winfield. Blue Jays lead it 6-0. They have a 3.5 game lead in the East. You've been around the baseball scene in the New York, Brooklyn, Coogan's Bluff for a long time. You've seen crowds like this before in a 4-game series?
In the old days, Giants, Dodgers, Yankees, Dodgers in the World Series.
Long fly ball out to Death Valley. Ricky Henderson gets it. 1 out in the 6th.
But baseball is on a high right now in terms of the pennant races. And with New York involved in both leagues, one New York team until today's game ends.
You've given up on them already? This Yankee team?
The Yankee team? I never picked them.
So you were never a subscriber to the Subway Series?
No, I have repeatedly said on network radio, did an interview, 2 of them for Canadian Broadcasting Corporation on television, that the Jays are the most underrated, unsung, underpublicized team within my memory. This is a first-rate baseball team.
A ball and a strike with 1 down. The Blue Jays leading it 6-0. Fernandez chops this one foul. Tony is lined to short. Single in the infield. A great stop by Madden. He couldn't get him. He came on to score and also popped up to short. You didn't pick the Tigers like I did way back in spring training?
In spring training, I picked Toronto to win the pennant.
They have such marvelous balance, Howard.
You do remember that, Chevry?
Yep,
well,
I do.
Good for you.
And I picked the Tigers for 3rd. They may not make it.
2 outs, Mattingly unassisted.
No, they won't make it. Baltimore finished 3rd.
Yeah.
7 set down consecutively now by Bordy, but the Yankees going to have to come up with a big inning to overcome the 6-run deficit they're looking at right now.
Tony, that's not like you. You're a totally candid man. If they were going to have a big inning, their shot was in the 4th. When mistakenly, Michael sent Mattingly in, and I can't believe Paliarulo's swinging at that 2-0 pitch.
Let me tell you what. Michael is going to get the heat for that, but Mattingly is, you could name him in the top 3 players in the game right now. He got a late jump, thought the line drive was going to be caught, and he didn't run very hard, and he didn't slide till the end. So he also made a mistake, which hung up Gene Michael. And I would never pick on Mattingly because you can rate him maybe number 1 in Major League Baseball these days in all areas.
Well, he hasn't had a good series here when it counted, in perfect truth. And when George Steinbrenner blew his top last night, I, for one, understood it. Griffey has been a bust. Winfield hasn't hit, and Don Bella can hit.
Bordy gets Mosby on a strikeout. Mosby with a 3-for-3 ball game until that. So another nice inning thrown at the Blue Jays by Rich Bordy. Is it too late? We'll find out as the game progresses. We go to the bottom of the 6th. That is Stisham. Way back there. Our special guest from ABC Television. You name a big event, and Howard Cosell has done it. Olympics, who so admirably was on the firing line, so to speak, at Munich, and all the tension and the display of anti-Semitism. But we're back to the ballpark, and Howard, stick with us, will you? Griffey, Mattingly, Winfield. Leach has got it. Doyle, Alexander over. 1 out in the 6th.
They're booing Griffey, and he has totally failed in this big series.
Well, he let one of those balls sneak by him, and then the relay by Meacham went into the stands. There was one ball earlier that went off the edge of his glove, and he's made several great catches off the wall in left field this year. In fact, out of the stands.
Can never boo this guy, Mr. Mattingly. His bat and his glove.
Mattingly, a fly to left. Fly ball again to left field. So Alexander just keeping the ball away from him with fastballs, making Mattingly hit to the big part of the ballpark as Bell battles his son again. He got an error on the ball hit by Mattingly back in the 4th when it popped off the edge of his glove, and he is battling that baby out there hard.
Oh, it's brutal out there. Always has been. You know the history of left field in Yankee Stadium, especially this time of year. A forlorn Billy Martin. He's done a great job this year. The best job I've ever seen him do with any team anywhere.
When he heard Mr. Steinbrenner, the boss's remarks up in the press box after the game yesterday, Billy early this morning was about to say, "I'm quitting." Then I think he thought, you know, if I quit, do I get paid? I don't think so.
That's a big if.
Winfield now with the only base hit for the Yankees in this ball game. A base hit to left field. That is the play where Mattingly with a slow jump. Michael sent him home, and a little bit of a discussion, heated one between innings between Martin and Michael. And our cameras captured for you. How can the boss, Mr. Steinbrenner, criticize a Dave Winfield who has driven in 100 runs 4 consecutive years for this ball club? You've got to go back to Yogi and Joe DiMaggio for guys that have done it before that. I don't understand that.
Oh, I don't. Hey, I understand it because I understand Steinbrenner. He's an emotional, a volatile man, given to impulsive words and actions. That's item 1.
He throws a knuckleball to Winfield and turns him nuts.
Item 2, I don't agree with him overall on David. I think David is a super athlete.
1-2 pitch. Doyle Alexander looking at an easy inning. Mosby waves Bell off. He's got it. 3 up, 3 down now for the Yankees in the 6th. After 6th with our guest Howard Cosell up in the booth. And we appreciate you stopping by. Toronto still leads it 6-0.
Franz Molodek starts it off with the Jays, and Howard, they talked about the lack of experience, the pressure, how the Blue Jays would crack when they got to New York City. I think it's gone the other way.
Of course it has. And when you say they talked about, you're referring to American sports writers. I did a piece for the Canadian Broadcasting Company predicting Toronto would win the pennant. I had predicted it before the start of the season. And as you call that pitch, I will remind the people in Canada that what is written in the American papers and the sports pages couldn't be less important and is usually vastly inaccurate. You've got the team, and you should enjoy it. This is a fine all-around baseball team.
Now, they are enjoying it. Not just Toronto, but an entire country has been caught up in the enthusiasm. The Blue Jays drive to the American League Eastern Division Championship. Mononix taking it. It is 3 balls and a strike 2.
Great to see you, TK.
Howard, I still think there could be a pennant race here. The Yankees are still under 19 games to left for the Blue Jays and some tough games to come in September, and they're coming up with nagging injuries. They're in a very good spot right now.
Here's Mononix taking
this
a walk.
Yankee team has a chance to come back and put another 10-12 game win streak on the board.
They've got to play 7 more games against Baltimore, and they shut out Earl Weaver up till now, and it's not going to continue. This pennant race is finite. Goodbye.
The man who tells it like it is, and you heard it right here. Boy, I'll tell you, that attorney has been getting all over us jocks, or is it we jocks?
Jockocracy.
Thanks, Howard.
You in that club?
Yep. Laughing all the way to the bank.
Local television show years ago when I was doing that, I brought you on as a cheese salesman.
That's right. When I retired from baseball. And
one final shot.
You made me
Coach,
what I am.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Coach.
Good to see you again. All right, George Bell got a base hit last night and an RBI here today to finally shake a prolonged slump that has plagued him since Comiskey Park when he almost tore that old facility apart against the Chicago White Sox. The thing about the Blue Jays is when a guy like Bell slumps someone like Mosby or Barfield or both in this case picks it up for Toronto, and the strength gets distributed around this lineup. That's made it happen.
You can see George Bell experiences the sun and the shadows in Yankee Stadium. 54,699 here at Yankee Stadium today. Attendance for the 4 games has gone what? Almost 215,000.
There it is. It is an
214.
American League record for any 4-game series. Interest that high here in New York. Short hop, tough play. Pagliarulo has nothing.
Saw before Bell hit that ball, he asked for the baseball. Under these conditions, it looks perfectly black. You can't pick up the spin, see change of speeds, but he hits it hard. The third base, a short hop. Pagliarulo, I'll tell you, they are playing tentative to say the least as he got back on his heel, and he's an outstanding fielding third baseman. Keep talking about his home runs. Now there's some debris on the field in right field that'll hold up the game.
Tony,
Yeah.
When Howard Cosell came on the air, I was leaning over talking to Jim Clancy, and I said to Clance, Cosell's on our telecast now. And right away, what's he saying? What's he saying? So I told him eventually what he had said, and of course it went down the bench like wildfire, and told him how Cosell said the pennant race is over with. I hope they...
Well, don't tell the guy down the bench not to believe him, because he is very stimulating and has ferreted out a lot of stories, but at times deals in a little hyperbole.
He sure creates a lot of interest.
You know what, though? He could be right. He really could. I tend to feel that while the Yankees will not fold completely, they have at least not broken their backs, but a big dent in them here in New York.
You know, the thing about it, he could be right, but the other thing about it, he could also be wrong. All you got to do is look at the Yankees and how many runs they put on the board over the last couple of months and leading the league in run scoring. I'm not saying this game. Even if the Blue Jays win this and go 4.5, the appeal goes down to first base, Dan Morrison. It only takes one little mini losing streak, 4 or 5 games, which is unlikely the way the Blue Jays are playing, and a 4 or 5 game winning streak by the Yankees, which they've done many times this year. And it's a race again.
The reason? As it is stroked into left center field by Johnson. Here comes the 7th run home. Now that touchdown has been converted. Melnick scores. The thing the American media doesn't have, of course, is a book, a history on the Blue Jays. They know about the Yankee history and tradition of winning, and that's why it's so tough for a lot of them to accept that this team can be for real. Why they may crack in the fall stretch, but they haven't.
One too many breaking balls, and Cliff Johnson was looking for it. Serves at the center field. Cliff Johnson's got 3 RBIs in his ball game. He came in to pinch hit in the 3rd, and now Bill Mambo Kett will come out to talk to Bordy. Billy's not going out.
He's tired of making that trip. He's worn out the last couple of days.
Was it last year or the year before? The Yankees had about 6 or 7 different pitching coaches to show what happens in the front office here, and sometimes a lack of continuity. Clyde King has done a job, so Billy doesn't even come out. The left hand is signal. Rod Scurry will make his first appearance for the Yankees and in the American League.
And that's a decent time to bring him in to get his feet wet, a no pressure situation. His team's already down 7-0, so now under these conditions, Billy Martin and Monbequette will get to see what the new man can do. As Bordy, who pitched really decently until this inning, little trouble here getting up the run. Ball, which is probably his best pitch, making his debut in pinstripes with the Yankees of New York.
You go back to 1982 when he was in 76 games for Chuck Tanner's Pirates. He had an ERA of 1.74, picked up 14 saves, struck out 95 in 103 innings that year, but boy, he can get in trouble when he starts bouncing that curveball. Al Oliver was asked to sum up Rod Scurry. Some of the writers and media people around here last night when the Yankees got him yesterday, and he said when his curveball is right, a left-hander cannot hit him, and I've seen him when he's had those days.
Well, he's got an advantage, too, that starting with Ernie Witt, these Toronto hitters certainly have not seen him.
Ernie, see if he's up there bunting again. He skirted around a bunt the last time. This program protected by copyright. Any use without permission is prohibited. See if they're looking. Pagliarulo at 3rd, sneaking up a little bit for a possible bunt. He's hit.
Ernie's had an 0 for 3 day so far. 13 Blue Jay hits, a baker's dozen on the board for the 7 runs that enabled Toronto to lead New York 7-0 at this stage. Top half of the 7th.
His spot, the 6th spot, and the 9th spot, that's Ord's. The only 2 slots that are hitless for the Blue Jays in this game.
Scurry starting him off with a 1-1 count. Very tired but game and competitive Ernie Witt. Looking forward to that day of rest along with a lot of Blue Jays with their minor nagging injuries tomorrow in Boston. They'll fly out tonight after the game. Outside it is 2-1.
At this point, the 2 catchers who would be eligible 7-0 Toronto for postseason play, again if the Blue Jays get in, would be Witt and Jeff Herron. Makosha would not be, but you tell me something.
Well, it's a small possibility. He's aiming for it. Buck Martinez said he told the doctor, look, if I was 29, 28 years old, I might have a chance for more championship series. I want this one. Let's get the fastest rehab program we can. Let's go with the minimum and see what happens. So the cast is off and Buck is working. On the corner. 3-2 now. Count full to Ernie Witt.
So I batted day baseball against guys like Koufax and Drysdale at World Series time and some other hard thrower, so I know what Ernie's going through with a left-hander with a curveball like this. You cannot pick it up. A breaking ball, a hanger, becomes a big pitch. The ball comes out of the sun, you lose it, and when it comes back in the shade, your eyes can't refocus. You can't pick it up. You get away with a lot of bad pitches.
New pitcher likely clarifying some of the signals from catcher Ron Hasse.
Yep. Bell down on second base. Afraid they may relay something. If not necessarily the pitch, curveball or fastball, they could relay location. So if a catcher sets up inside in this situation, it's not going to be a breaking ball because you don't call for an inside breaking ball to left-hand hitter if you're a left-handed pitcher.
Struck him out. So Scurry debuts impressively against a left-hander hitter. Now he'll face a couple of right-handers, Rick Leach and then Jesse Barfield. 1 out of the Blue Jays' 7th inning.
Fastball right on the outside half. Ernie swings right on through it.
Leach has had a pretty good day. 2-base hit in the 3rd, part of that big 6-run uprising, and a single, 2 singles actually, 2nd and 3rd inning. Looking down to Barfield here, who's on deck next.
The thing about this park too, if you were a guess setter, and I don't advise any kid guessing, I think you should look for the fastball all the time. If you were a guesser and wanted to guess, it makes it more difficult because if you guess curveball and you can't find the fastball, it's in your ear. And boy, it's tough. You got to see that ball all the way if you can. You cannot under these conditions.
It looks like Scurry is going to help this team, although of no real value to them today unless they can turn things around offensively. There are the dimensions: the short porch 310 out and right, 312 down the line, and a corner in left field here, and Death Valley center field, much better than it used to be, but still 410.
Biggest part of the ballpark between 379 and 410 is 411. You get the base hit off.
Yes, he did. Bell is coming home with run number 8. Blue Jays with an 8-0 lead over the Yankees.
Well, you said it. He is having a good day, Rick Leach, isn't he?
Sure is.
A fill-in who should have been here all year long. He is contributing in September and especially today.
Put some big numbers up in Syracuse. 3 for 4 today with a run batted in now. His first RBI back with the Blue Jays in '85. So time will tell if the Jays win this, go 4.5 up. There could be quite a party 3 weeks from today in Toronto when the season officially ends, or if it gets clinched sooner than that. Yankees can still be tough, but the head-on confrontations will be down to those 3 games in Toronto, and if all things hold equally, a 3-game sweep by the Yankees with the Jays given a 4.5-game lead now would not be enough to turn things around.
Depends what happens between now and that 3-game series.
Well, as Howard said, the series with Baltimore, I think, is vital to the Yankees' hopes. Blue Jays don't have the Orioles unless an extra makeup game is required. There's Leach at first base. Johnson ahead of him at second with 1 out. Down and into Barfield, taking it. 2-1 is the count. The Jays with 14 hits on the board.
It's interesting. Now he's throwing the breaking balls. 2 of the 3 pitches have been breaking balls to Barfield. He may have thrown 1 to Leach, but I'm not sure he threw him fastballs.
It's one that gets fouled off on the right side.
You think that he would have just mercilessly thrown breaking balls until he got way behind on both Witt and Leach. Threw Leach a fastball. He got an RBI base hit.
Barfield 2 for 3 on the day. Unbattled in, single and double. Makes it to make it 3-2. Garth Orge hitting next.
Will Bobby Cox start the 2 runners? 3-2, 1 out. He has most of the season, even though Barfield strikes out.
Not a world of speed there with Johnson at second base, however.
Heath goes from dazzling with his footwork. He's done some clever things on those bases. He's holding.
Down goes Barfield. So a couple of strikeouts for Scurry. 2 gone, Blue Jays. Garth Orge the hitter. Very unenthusiastic 7th inning stretch here in New York a few minutes ago. With the coming up, I don't think they're going to get too excited now. They can put clap on that scoreboard all they want, but seats are thinning out. Leach, shortstop. Whoa. Tries the force, just gets it. Leach almost beat it out. However, the Blue Jays come up with 2 more runs in the top half of the 7th inning and take an 8-0 lead into the Yankees' 7th inning stretch here on a sunny but cloudy day for Yankee fans in New York City. This is Labatt's Blue Jays baseball.
ERA has been pushed gradually down. He had a good July also.
I think maybe he's really walked 2 or 3. Some questionable calls gave him a total of 5. Ron Hasse, the Yankee catcher, hit that towering shot on Thursday night. That's been his biggest contribution so far in this series, but good enough for a Yankee first game win. They have struggled ever since. He walked in the 4th inning this afternoon. He's 0 for 1. Hasse, Pasqua, and Pagliarulo scheduled for New York. 7th inning.
Was that a left-handed hitter's stance here in Yankee Stadium? Open up to get the barrel of the bat out, take advantage of that short porch and right. Mattingly doesn't do it. Once in a while he'll stride and open up. Pagliarulo, Pasqua a little bit that way.
Fouled out of play. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Hasse.
Doyle knows the way to pitch in this ballpark. You just keep running that fastball away to left-handers. So as hard as you can, keep it outside edge, make them hit the fly balls to center and left. Boy, he's done a job on a great hitter. Mattingly got him hit the left field 3 times in this ball game already.
Hasse stays alive at 1 and 2. One thing the Blue Jays have going for them with these nagging little injuries, we mentioned the days off, 2 next week, tomorrow and Thursday. The Yankees only have 1 left in the entire season. They lose 1 tomorrow with a makeup game here with Cleveland. They have 1 a week from Monday, and that's it for them till it's over.
That might have been another knuckleball. Threw 1 to Winfield earlier.
For the game, he toyed with that, throwing about 40% knuckleballs in Toronto. With Widmar and Bobby Cox calm and content with what they've seen so far. And Hasse strokes that to center field to start the Yankees' 7th inning.
Just the second base hit off Doyle Alexander. Winfield had the other in the 4th. That was a single also. There's Willie Horton. First base coach, running fastball, and he goes out and gets. Doyle still did not let him pull the ball. Willie Horton, the guy coaching first base, is Billy Martin's tranquility coach. You can argument with Billy, and he can tranquilize you in a hurry. Willie Horton, huh?
He tranquilized Billy. Left side, it's well out of play.
Willie Horton referred, and he did again today, news clipping I saw, to Billy Martin, a genius. And Billy does have a great instinct between the white lines. Disregard what he does off the field if you can. Punching up marshmallow salesmen or whatever else. Boy, he really has a feel for the game. He can pick up steals, knows when to pitch out usually. His track record proves it. Wherever he's been, he's won. Here, several times.
And as we did last night, you could question his moves with the pitching staff, but he knows he hasn't got the greatest staff in the world. He has milked them, I think that's the word, very, very well.
Well, he won at Detroit. He did a good job at Texas, build a franchise. Minnesota. We still talk about him. They're finally rejuvenating the franchise there. They were still mad. A lot of people wouldn't come back when they let Billy go. You know what you get when you get Billy. You may not like a lot of things he does, but you have a chance to be a contender when he's at the range usually, at least for a couple of years.
You mentioned the Twins, that is outside. 1 and 2. A year ago this time, they were going down to the final few days of the season there in that weird Western Division race. Out of it this time. They've slumped the last couple of months. That's the story here. What a hit parade that is for the Blue Jays. Leading 8-0 on 14 of them. 2 and 2 to Pasqua. 0 for 1 and a walk.
Mets 6, Montreal 2. Mets trailing by a half in the East. Cardinals with a lead. That game's in the 9th now. St. Louis, Chicago, 1 apiece in the 7th.
So if the Mets win and the Cardinals don't get past the Cubs, they'll flip around the other way. New York will go on top by half a game.
Well, Davey Johnson for the Mets has that great security blanket. Every 5 days he runs Dwight Gooden out there. What a stopper. And he's got Darling here, an exceptional year. Aguilera.
Pasqua thought it might ride inside on him. It caught the corner of the plate. Good pitch by Alexander.
If that was a knuckleball or a changeup.
Took something off it and fooled him.
It was a changeup that Doyle Alexander got in a bad spot, up and in, but with that little screwball action, Pasqua jumped away from the plate and it came back, or so says Mark Johnson, the home plate umpire.
Mike Pagliarulo, the third baseman, has had an 0 for 2 day thus far. Popped up, struck out. Forget, we'll be with you from Boston, Fenway Park, Wednesday, 7:30. Blue Jays in the second game of a short series against the Red Sox. Completes this very important road trip and will send Toronto back home. Face the Milwaukee Brewers next weekend. While the Yankees contend with Baltimore, the Jays have got home and home with Milwaukee, and the Brewers can be a tough team. Despite their low station in life in the American League East, around goes Pagliarulo at a strike 2, 1-2 to him now. 1 out, runner at first base is Hasse.
There'll be a lot of collars in this ball game today for the Yankees. A lot of offers. 0 for 3s, 0 for 4s. If Alexander keeps throwing like this with that shadow. He's still in the sun. Ball comes out of the sun into the shade. Look out.
Base hit, gets through. Hasse, no, will not go to third base. Michael being very careful now after what happened earlier.
It wasn't Michael. Michael didn't have anything to do with that. Hasse, after he rounded the back, thought, whoops. Guy in center field's got a pretty good arm, but we were down by 8 runs. And I can't afford to get thrown out in third like Mattingly did at home. He made that decision, I believe, by himself.
Well, I think Michael, with both hands outstretched, the palm showing, gave him a little clue that he'd done the wrong thing. He knew it.
Yankees through 6, excuse me, Don, have stranded 4. Blue Jays have stranded 7 through 7.
So it could have been a lot worse as far as the Yanks are concerned, as Dennis Lamp, right-hander, and Gary Lavelle, the left-hander. Lavelle pitched so well for 3 innings, setting up Tom Henke to terminate things on Friday night.
So the only left-handed hitter that Billy Martin has on his bench, Scott Bradley, will pinch hit. He's got a raft of right-handers. He's also got 2 switch hitters, Butch Weiniger and Keith Smith. So Bradley will hit right now.
For Hudler, the young second baseman. That mean we'll see Willie Randolph a little later on?
I doubt it. I don't think you'll take a chance in this kind of ball games with his pull leg muscle. There are a lot of young infielders that he can still use. Juan Bonilla, Keith Smith's an infielder.
Ball is high.
Bradley can play about 7 different positions for you. In fact, he's also caught along with the infield and outfield positions. At Columbus, he had 301 with just 4 home runs, 27 RBIs, and 163 at bats.
Strike taken, 1-1. Bradley from Essex Falls, New Jersey. A few of the Yankees live on the Jersey side.
Yeah, some have homes, live here all year long, across the George Washington Bridge. And there's Hasse at second. The shadows still a problem here for the hitters.
Dissecting the mound at this stage of the afternoon. 4:37 in New York.
Bradley at 84 led Columbus in that league, AAA league, in 335 last season.
That's the back foul, holding it 1-2.
Never had a big home run year in the minor leagues. 8 was his tops at Nashville in 83. Valuable utility guy. Play all over for you. Fill in, give you some bench strength.
There's 215,000 taking in the 4 games here, an American League record. You could probably project 120,000 or so for the final 3 games in Toronto. Got to be in the area of 40,000. I understand that only the bleacher seats are left for that series, and not very many of those, I hear.
What a great change again. Alexander with that great motion has Bradley way out in front. He swung and the ball was still looked like 4 feet out in front of home plate. Great extension. Swings right on through it. Tell you, Alexander doing a job on the best offensive machine in baseball, bar none. The Cardinals score a run. They don't have the power, especially with Jackie Clark on it. This Yankee team does. They've got more speed. This ball club's been averaging all year long about 5 3/4 of a run per game. Blue Jays are somewhere between 4 and 5. So, but the run differential is a thing that people are talking about now. Runs scored plus runs given up. The run differential is not that big. Not any bigger than the Blue Jays.
No.
Because they give up so many runs with this pitching staff.
Bobby Meacham ahead of the count, 2-0. 2 gone and 2 on for the Yankees, trailing 8-0. There was Ron Hassey at second base. Aguilar over at first.
Strikeout of Bradley was the first one Doyle's had since way back in the second when he struck out Pascual and Paliarulo.
Total of 4. 2-1 to Meacham.
Let me correct that. He struck out Pascual in this inning. So I'll retract that. He's got 2 this inning. Before that, he had 2 in the second. Well, I didn't say that when Howard was here. The way he gets out of the jocks into the booth, he would have said, "See, I told you so." The inaccurate journalism.
What's his line? He sat on the air once. He was once asked by a woman about her son. He's asking, want him to get into broadcasting. What does he have to do? He says he has to be a 3-letter man in college and be a guttural illiterate. But Howard likes you, I know that. Should have bought a car when I went down to talk to him to bring him over here. He's with Lee Iacocca. Taking in the action this afternoon.
Is he going to run for the presidency of the United States? A lot of rumors about, well, either one, but I was talking about Iacocca. 3 and 2 outs, he'll be on the move now.
I'd have to fend off Peter Uberach. Bases loaded now.
Howard probably told Iacocca he would get him elected president if he would let Howard run the country.
On the same ticket. I thought he did already.
Billy back. I don't know if Billy was off the bench for a while when he sent Monboquet to make the pitching change. Bobby Cox won't even make a trip out. There's not a whole lot, and Bobby's made this comment he can say to Doyle Alexander when he goes out there, except ask him how he feels, because you can't give him any pitching advice. He's so smart.
Ball 1 to Henderson. Ricky with a base on ball, stolen base, grounded out, popped up to the first baseman. He's 85 walks, 4th in the American League. This is out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike to Henderson. The Yankees have left 5 base runners today, including 3 of them in the 4th inning. George Steinbrenner not having a very happy afternoon, but sharing a smile and a laugh there with friends in his private box. Henderson with 2 strikes to him now, 1 and 2. Tony, you're pretty good with rumors. Doug Kelcher just showed me one here. There's a rumor that in the press box that Joe Niekro has just been acquired from Houston by the Yankees.
Interesting. So they'll pick up another big salary. Rumors around here have been that Phil's going to go manage Atlanta with Ted Turner, and Joe's going to come along with him. Does that squelch that deal?
I don't know. It's only a rumor, but it's here in the press box. Henderson stays alive.
Doyle had Ricky bailing out when he came from the side with that fastball in a 1 and 2 count.
Still tied at Wrigley. Cardinals in Chicago, 7th inning now, and the Mets have beaten Montreal 6-2. So for now, they're dead even in the National League East. Outside, 2 and 2 to Henderson.
Some feel that Ricky Henderson, when he wants to play and plays hard, is the best player in the game. And you could make a good argument for him, couldn't you?
Yep.
He's driving in runs. He's got over 20 home runs. Great on-base percentage. He chases the ball down in the outfield like nobody else. Can be erratic, moving to new position center field.
Force at second base.
Nice play.
Again, the Yankees leave the bases loaded for the second time today. And after 7 complete now, it remains 8-0 Blue Jays. Inning. Fernandez, Mosby, and Mullenix for the Blue Jays. Tony again leads off an inning. Juan Bonilla has come on to play for Hudler at second base.
All he did was hit .330 minor leagues this season before being brought up.
Rod Scurry pitched himself out of a little jam, and he came on to become the 4th Yankee pitcher of the game in the 7th inning. And he offers ball 1 to Tony Fernandez. And he got his base hit in the 3rd. 1 for 4 in the afternoon. High, 2-0.
Oh, you can see how tough it is. Hasse had a fastball, and it looked like he didn't pick it up very well from the pitcher's in the shade now, along with the catcher. You still got a very bright background behind him.
High for ball 3. Boy, this stadium is really thinned out, Tony. Few diehards here, a few thousand, but nothing like a crowd of almost 55,000 that turned up earlier. 54,699. 4 pitches takes Fernandez down to first base to start the 8th.
Even the cheap seats out in left field bleachers. Fans are going. We don't even want to get a suntan out there anymore.
Tony, you've been talking all afternoon how tough it is for the hitter to see those pitches coming out of that sunlight. Ernie Witt came over. I know he's taking the collar today, but he says, I can't believe how tough it is up there. He says, I can't see the ball.
Tell Ernie for me, he should have tried it in World Series time. Henry Aaron came in here, 57, 58. Frank Robinson and Vada Pinson, great hitters. A couple of guys in the Hall of Fame with Cincinnati when we beat them 4-5, and they'd get down to second base, and that was a rarity when they did, and they'd say, you guys got to be kidding us. And we played a lot more day baseball.
Somebody's been seeing the ball, though. Those Jays have 14 hits.
Yeah.
See where a lot of those were earlier. A lot of that up to the 3rd inning. All in the 7th, there was an error, a walk, a couple singles. And it gets to be awful at this time of the year and the spring of the year, which helps their pitching staff along with his big ballpark.
He waves at it. Held back at his ball 2. Ted Henry down there, third base. Yes, Ted Henry. Tried to plate last night. 2-1. 2 of each. Mosby threw the pitch. Nobody out of the Blue Jay 8th inning. Ball game approaching the 3-hour mark here in New York this afternoon. Blue Jays established a franchise record with a 90th win last night, going for number 91 this afternoon. So a game over 500 the rest of the way. They'll reach the century mark in victories in this 85 season. Might have been out of the strike zone, but no matter. Mosby's down on strikes. That is the 3rd recorded by relief pitcher Rod Scurry.
When you figure that there's Jim Acker who begins to throw for the Blue Jays, he hasn't seen a whole lot of action over the last month. When you figure that a hitter's got to react within 2/5 of a second to decide where the ball is, what it is, should I swing or not, and then you take away, I don't know how much time out of that 2/5 of a second because of this background, it's scary. I don't care. Anybody would say, I'm macho. Boy, with the ball being propelled at you, high 80s and a curveball aside from that. Now, I don't know if some of the players have put on that eye black beneath their eyes. Mullen's got it on now. Look out.
Got away on Scurry.
High breaking ball. Tried to overthrow it. He throws a curveball very hard, and look at how close that is to Rance. He picked it up at the end, ducked straight down, went right over the top of his helmet. He didn't react very quickly, and he fastens her down just in case.
Could have been real trouble a couple of innings ago with the sunshine right across the mound.
Look out.
Another one.
He's not knocking him down. Those are just 2 hard curveballs.
2-1.
I'm not saying that there's never been a knockdown pitch thrown with a breaking ball.
Malonek's little tapper. New second baseman hustles, gets one. They do not get the other end of the double play as Bonilla just gets the out at second base.
Kid did a nice job getting the lead runner. He's got to be a little bit nervous in front of what started out to be 54,000 plus. Perhaps only 35 or 40 now, but caught a ground ball in the big leagues and got it out with it. An assist.
Beecham missing out on Mullenix. Here's George Bell. 2 hits today. Outside 2. Scurry is throwing a lot of breaking balls, as his practice has had a little trouble controlling them.
Mattingly behind the runner. Excuse me, Don. He's behind. Blue Jays getting ready to pad their lead to 4.5 in the East. An off day and then up to Boston for a couple.
Be a nice way to go into Boston. Enjoy a day off and then settle in against the Red Sox.
Watch Monday Night Football. Sans Howard.
That's right.
Out Howard Cosell.
We had him on Sunday afternoon baseball today. Two and 2 to Bell.
The enthusiasm has gone completely out of this Yankee Stadium crowd.
It caught a subway about 3 innings ago.
And if you are a Blue Jays fan here with this kind of lead in the pennant race, you better not let the people know it, because they can be rough.
Ooh, I'll say they can.
Detroit 4-1. Score that, well, they're playing maybe for 3rd place, I guess.
One guy walking out of the ballpark with a Blue Jay hat just got punched just for having the hat on last night. They were that frustrated here.
Didn't Fergie have an incident on the subway where there was a knife pulled?
Yeah, not at him, but in the general area, make it a little uncomfortable. So he's changing tour directors. Mr. Kelcher, a friend, led him onto the subway that day for the last time. Fouled off by Bell.
So Kansas City's losing. Oakland, score you just saw flashed on the board. Kansas City with what, a 3-game lead now over the California Angels in the West. Yeah.
So they've turned that division around, haven't they?
Hal McRae, well, they did the same thing last year. Remember when they got the California Angels and Hauser started 3 of 4 rookie pitchers and they won 3 of 4?
Yep. Doing it again. Bell strikes out to end the Jays' 8th inning. Strikeout number 4 for Mr. Scurry. And it's 8-0 Blue Jays. We head for the bottom of the 8th. This is Advanced Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
It's a laugher.
Going over some of the errors he might have made over the years, he told him that Doyle Alexander certainly is one of the biggest mistakes he ever made, giving up on him.
Aside from that, letting Reggie Jackson get away.
Another big one. There have been others. I'd tell you one of the biggest mistakes he ever made was letting Pat Gillick get away. That's where it all began for this Toronto team. The building of the Blue Jays.
One of the nicest things that ever happened to Pat Gillick was getting away.
You're right.
The Yankee fans found something to cheer about. Youngster made a nice play.
Griffey, 1 ball, 1 strike, 0 for 3 today.
Alexander has been brilliant again. 3 little base set singles. Whoops, look out.
Off the wall, Barfield got turned around and played booted. Griffey's at second base with a double.
Looked like a changeup that Griffey swung at and kind of held back a little bit, hit it almost with one hand. He was out in front, but he's a strong guy. Change up, a little up in the strike zone. He didn't hit a bad pitch, wasn't bad. So they finally get an extra base hit in this ball game off Doyle. Ball came, what, a couple of feet at best, maybe a foot from being in the seats. Right in the area where Roger Maris hit 61.
Tracy Staley. Mattingly. You shut down this lineup, as Alexander has said, you've really done something.
That's a good trivia question. Do you remember the guy's name, the youngster's name that caught Roger Maris' 61st home run? It was Sal Durante, wasn't it?
They want Mattingly for president. I think he's much more valuable right now at first base for the Yankees, don't you?
Yeah.
Mosby in center field tracks this one down. Here's Griffey with the tag. Mosby will send him back.
You've seen Doyle Alexander at his best against last season's leading hitter. He has prevented Mattingly from hitting the ball to the right side of second base all day long. 3 fly balls to left field, and that's the reason why. Running fastball low and away. He hits this one to center field, a big part of the park. This guy, I've said this before, dissects the lineup before he goes out there, looks at the park, uses it as he has on Mattingly, checks the wind, knows who he should pitch around in a tough situation.
He's closing in on his fourth victory.
Tony, you notice,
Yankees, but nevertheless, his 14th in 15 starts.
Sorry, Shabby, but you notice what Doyle Alexander said on the opening of our show today. All he's going to do against Mattingly is keep that ball on the outside of the plate, and that's what he's done.
Very effectively.
It has worked for every pitcher that's ever come in the park that's had the control that a Doyle Alexander's had, or a Whitey Ford, or a Jim Palmer, or a Catfish Hunter. You got to be able to do it, and this guy's done it again, and he's done it start after start over the last 2 months.
Winfield laces one to center field, and this is going to break the shutout. Somewhat derisive cheer as the Yankees get a run.
This is how the Bronx cheer expression came about. We're in the Bronx, and it is derisive, and out comes Bobby Cox. Fastball out over the plate that Winfield goes out and gets. He likes to get those arms out.
RBI number 101 for Dave. Sending Griffey home.
He's got a string of left-handers. Hasse, Pasqua, Paliarulo now. So is he going to go to Laval?
Looks that way.
He's thrown a lot of pitches, and he will. He had those walks thrown in. He's walked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a lot of pitches.
About 120, Doug Kelcher figures. So that is enough for one day for Doyle Alexander. We'll turn things over to Gary Laval now as Alexander seems assured of a victory here this afternoon.
This park was made for a guy like Alexander. I mean, you look at the history of the Yankees from Joe Page through Sparky Lyle, Louis Arroyo, Marshall Bridges, Righetti now. Left-handed pitchers in relief. Whitey Ford starting, Guidry starting here, but especially relievers. Keep the ball to the right field seats.
Reminder about the championship series. If it is in Toronto, mail orders only will be accepted. They can't be postmarked before September the 16th. That is tomorrow. And the only way to do it is to mail them in and hope that yours gets selected. This is for the bleacher seats, season ticket holders, and have the other seats along with other needs for Major League Baseball.
So the string of right-handed pinch hitters will probably start off the bench of Billy Martin, but you don't mind that either because the left-hander negates the left-handed hitter, even though he's a good one a little bit. Can't hit to the short porch as Alexander did to, there's Billy, to Mattingly. Make him into the big part of the park or strike him out. And the right-hander, Joe D. There's his plaque, one of the monuments and plaques out there. A couple of popes who spoke here. One in '64, I believe. The late Alston Howard, late Thurman Munson. There's the monument, Miller Huggins. The Babe is there. To the right behind that pole, the Iron Horse. Had over 2,100 consecutive games. He's got a monument there. Edward Barrows is out there, one of the string of great general managers, the first. George Weiss to follow and others. Here comes Laval. When they put the right-handed pinch hitters up, they'll hit to the big part of the ballpark.
And he did some good work on Friday the 13th. Unlucky for Necro, but worked out just fine for Gary Laval, who came in for Jim Clancy, worked 3 good innings, and turned the ball over to Tom Henke, and he slammed the door shut on New York.
Now, Billy's got people like Don Baylor he can send up. Willie Randolph, if his leg is okay. Robertson, Sample. Cotto's a defensive player. Espino's there, a catcher. But he already in the ballgame. He's got Dale Barra.
And he's got some moves he could make, but they had a long way to go to get back into this one.
Going to send up Andre Robertson. First pinch hitter. Try and get a base hit or a walk and keep something going.
Hit for Hasse, the catcher.
Number 18, Andre Robertson.
Probably send up Baylor if a couple guys get on and the rally keeps going.
Robertson, a starter in last night's game.
Kid whose career they thought was over with a late night car accident. Girl seriously injured. Took him a long time to come back.
One.
Good looking young shortstop at one time.
Still got a bad left knee. Wearing a brace on. Reached for it. 2 strikes.
Robertson hitting at 362. 94 at bats. Doesn't have a whole lot of power. 2 home runs, 16 RBIs.
Ooh, close pitch.
Alexander, or rather Laval, like Alexander before him, thought he should have had that pitch. Doyle thought that of a lot of pitches. So did Ernie Witt. Just held it right there for Mark Johnson.
He's been tough. So the pinch hitter Robertson becomes the second out of the inning. First strikeout for Gary Laval as he faces him, and Dan Pasqua will come in. Pasqua will not hit, though. Don Baylor will take his spot.
Had a good chance from that center field camera shot to see the tail on the fastball. Running away from the right-handed hitter, Gary Laval.
Baylor, as we told you earlier, not happy with his platooning arrangement with young Pasqua. Hits for him here.
Well, Baylor, you might recall, I guess the 3rd time Billy was fired, he said he'd never play for him again. When Billy came back, he said it's all water over the dam. But Baylor's had some big years in the major leagues and for the Yankees.
Oh, the dam's opening up again. Top hitter Baylor is outside to him. I've seen him mind getting hit by a pitch either.
He just tied and just broke an American League career record.
Yep.
Ron Hunt's got the Major League record and National League record.
His bruises still haven't cleared up.
Baylor last season hit 27 home runs. There's Dale Berra in the on-deck circle. Baylor also had 89 runs batted in last year.
Strike 2. Seeing Berra is a rare event here. He looks to be squarely in Martin's doghouse, not figuring in Yankee plans.
Well, part of it, too. Dale was under such extreme pressure. Problems he inherently brought over from Pittsburgh. Look out.
Long shot to left field from Baylor. It is off the wall for George Bell. This is going to score the second Yankee run as Winfield lopes home with it. 8-2.
That's a home run in almost any other park. You know, ironically, that's the ball that probably would not have been a home run in Fenway Park. There was too much of a line drive. It would have hit the wall and might have only been a single. You don't know. But it has hit such a shot here to Death Valley. It hits about 408 or 9 feet away, about a foot shy of going out.
And it's good for a double. So Dale Berra hitting for Patty Rulo. First Yogi in the doghouse and then out the door, and now Berra not in good favor. Hitting just 222 with a single home run. Pitch hitting for Patty Rulo.
I would think that Yogi, with all his friends in baseball, will somehow pull some strings behind the scenes to get Dale out of here and with another team next year. Give him another chance, see if he can revive his career.
Home run that Berra did hit was against the Blue Jays here at Yankee Stadium. Alexander, sorry Tony, just 5 hits, 4 strikeouts, walked 5 as he made his exit. Fernandez can't contain it, and Berra's driven home the 3rd Yankee run as Baylor scored. An 8-3 ball game.
Dale's father, as usual, was right. It ain't over till it's over.
Not here.
Still a long ways to go, but it's a silly little game. As Casey Stengel used to say, chasing that little white rat around. It's a little white rat going off the bat of Berra for a base hit right now. An RBI.
This did sneak through.
This is the park where Yogi in left field in these kinds of conditions with the sun in left that Bell had so much problem with earlier. He missed the ball coming into the World Series. We were trying for a shoestring catch. It bounced off his hand, hit him in the nose. A run or two scored. They asked him after the game what happened. And he said it gets late early out there, which was a pretty graphic way of saying that the shadows and the sun gave him some problems.
Juan Bonilla, the second baseman, came on for Hudler after Bradley pinch hit for him. And strike 1-2. Lavelle with a couple of outs, struggling a bit to get out of this 8th inning. Inside, 1-1. Two-base hit by Griffey. Mattingly flied out. Winfield drove him home. On came Lavelle. Got a strikeout, now giving up a double to Dale Berra. Or to Don Baylor. And that'll take them out of the inning. Yankees strike for 3. Blue Jays still on top by 5. And Rick Leach. Juan Espino is the catcher now for him.
Now playing third
Dale
base.
Berra has gone to third base.
And now pitching,
Mike Armstrong, the guy you might recall, is a year or two ago, and the Yankees got him out of the Kansas City Royals. There's the new defensive alignment. Berra, Bonilla, and Espino and Armstrong, the new players in the ball game for Billy Martin after the pinch hitting. Armstrong, a side armor, had some success setting up Quisenberry for a year or so with the Kansas City Royals. A side armor. They're still having fun.
Yeah, they got the chorus line going here.
And Armstrong, when they got him, I believe Mr. Steinbrenner, the boss, filed a complaint that he was given damaged goods.
the designated
Shortly
hitter.
after they got him, I think he was put on the disabled list. He can be tough on right-handed hitters. Sidearm, sinking, boring fastball right into you, and then a sweeping curveball.
He's got one right here, Cliff Johnson.
He has had a good day. Cliff early, not saying he put it out of reach, but he helped contribute. A 2 RBI single, pinch hitting for Oliver in the 3rd. Drove another one in the 7th.
He's had a good day.
You betcha.
2 for 4, the 3 RBIs. Still looking for his first extra base hit for the Blue Jays this year. The Indians against the Yankees tomorrow here in New York in a makeup game.
It's only
Rest in
Armstrong.
Boston,
Excuse
sorry.
me. Only Armstrong's 7th appearance of the year. He's only pitched 6 2/3 innings.
Johnson sends it foul. Joe Cowley pitching for the Yankees tomorrow afternoon, and Jamie Easterly scheduled for the Indians.
So Pat Corrales will bring a left-handed pitcher out of the woodwork because of the Yankee Stadium. Easterly has put more often than that, in fact most often, out of the bullpen.
If you're a Blue Jay fan, you'd be hoping the rotation would pop up Tom Waddell. He's been very effective. Well, they got the fishnets at work, and that paid off. Better let the net do the job there. It's a long drop. You should misjudge things. Scurry, the 4th Yankee pitcher, worked 2 innings, gave up a hit, struck out 4 while walking 1. You said Armstrong has not appeared for quite a while. Johnson
Got a
sends it
chance.
to the right
Or
field
does it?
side. Way back. Good catch on the run by Winfield in there.
Now he's got center fielder's speed and a great right fielder's throwing arm. He's having fun. He's not letting things around him bother him. He's just a super athlete, and anybody that knocks this guy or Mattingly is goofy because he plays hard all the time. He'll steal your base. He'll upset the pivot man in a double play. The only mistake I think he made, Don, was when he signed a Yankee contract, his agent said, hey, look, among all the glamour endorsements, he would have assured himself a spot in the Hall of Fame. He may still make it, but hitting in this ballpark, he's lost a lot of home runs. If he'd have chosen Exhibition Stadium or Atlanta or Wrigley Field or almost any other ballpark, he's the kind of guy who can throw 40 home runs on the board a year for you.
He committed to it. He signed, what, a 10-year contract?
A biggie.
Yeah. So he made Yankee Stadium his home for a career.
Kind of contract, dollar size you use for pin money.
Well, the guy who just left does. Mr. Cosell.
Another pitcher warming up for Billy Martin in the bullpen. Another left-hander.
He does go through them, doesn't he? 5 this afternoon. And
sidearm changeup.
Second strike to a befuddled Ernie Whitt.
You think he learned that kind of delivery from the quiz? He's right down there, isn't he?
Yep.
Little changeup, sinker ball.
Something Tom Henke does pretty well too as he moves down with it, but usually on a 2-strike count.
He paralyzes you, Henke, if you're a right-handed hitter when he comes from the side about 90 miles an hour.
Little delay on the part of Johnson. He calls him out, and Ernie just says, I better walk away before I really get angry.
You read his lips. Aside from a couple of other things, Ernie just said, are you kidding me?
Excuse me, sir, you may have made an error. He can't believe it.
Espino holds the ball right there, and Ernie just says, drops the bat. If you're going to take it out of my hands, might as well leave it here for you, and you swing it.
It's an 0 for 5 day for Whitt. Gets the gear on, ready to go, and the last gasp Yankees. They're going to send the number 9 hitter Meacham up, then Henderson and Griffey are scheduled.
See, Ernie's got to be careful. There's Jim Deshays, the young left-hander throwing for the Yankees. But Ernie's got to be careful because there's still an inning left, and he doesn't want anything taken away from his pitcher last
Rick
inning.
Leach out to Mr. Winfield to give Armstrong a 3-up, 3-down, 9th inning. So the Blue Jays at 5, taking his final warm-up pitches.
Got to start thinking of the players of the game. Bordy did a good job in relief.
It's tough on the Yankee side.
Yeah, you can't really talk about their hitting that much, although Winfield's got 2 base hits and a single. Griffey's got a double, a run scored.
Winfield made that great catch, too, a few minutes ago.
My vote's for Winfield if yours is. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'll go with that. Now, let's
Bordy
talk
pitched
about...
well, but the game was out of hand. It's easy to pitch that way sometimes.
There's so many hitting
about
stars
Doyle?
in the Blue Jays that I think Doyle Alexander
so
probably deserves it out there.
Guy's been the best pitcher on this staff for the last 3 years, and that is not a knock at Dave, Steve, or anybody else. Alexander's just been a real gem, to say the least.
The numbers certainly support that in terms of wins and losses.
Pitching the way he has down the stretch, not just this game, the last outing, the last 5 or 6 outings or more.
That rumor we had a minute ago has come through. Joe Niekro has been obtained by the New York Yankees.
Good job by Doug Kelcher getting the story on the air. Guy's incredible. He doesn't miss a thing.
I think the guy that he saw in the bullpen is going to Houston a minute ago. We saw him.
Kelcher put that ear to the railroad track and heard Niekro coming.
So Duchesne will go to Houston and a player to be named later.
Fellow that was just, Billy apparently didn't get the word because he was warming Deshays up the last inning.
He should have been home packing. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Now it is 2-2. Bobby Meacham.
Little curveball, something that he worked on. You know, we really haven't seen all year long consistently one of LaValle's best pitches. He had a great slider. He throws it, but it's bothered his elbow off and on.
Meacham, a lot of room out there in center field. Mosby is going to run this one down. 1 away.
Another one of those 400-foot fly balls.
Yes.
Boy, I saw some great hitters, right-handed, like Hank Bauer, Gil McDougall, Moose Gower, and Ellie Howard hit the balls out there. 430, 440 left center, dead center field when it was 461. Clete Boyer was an 8th place hitter here before the designated hitter. First year out of here, he went down to Atlanta, hit 25 home runs, hit 4th behind Henry Aaron. I mean, he hit 15 balls a year that went 400 feet plus, and they'd say, I got it.
Yeah.
Sit down, pal.
Ricky Henderson, hitless today. Takes ball 1.
That's one of the reasons last year where Winfield, before last spring training, said, I'm going to cut down my swing, hit for average, because even I can't hit a whole lot out of here, and he is strong. And he ended up going to the last day with Mattingly before he got beaten out for the batting title.
2-0. The hitter, Ricky Henderson. Bobby Cox still looking pretty calm and confident with a 5-run lead. Nobody out, 1 out in the Yankee 9th inning. Strike to Ricky, 2-1.
Did we just see the manager of the year in the American League sitting down there?
He well have.
He doesn't get a lot of votes. I don't know who will. He's had to restructure the bullpen.
I really don't know who else can win it.
You know, when you figure that Caudle and LaValle haven't contributed like they thought, It's an understatement in Bill Caudle's situation, who struggled most of the year, to have to, juggle his bullpen. Acker was so good for 3 months. Lamb. Bring up Henke.
3-2. Well, you talk about what Billy's done with the Yankees pitching staff, what Cox and Widmar have done with this Toronto pitching staff. Walked him on a 3-2 pitch. Run-out walk to Henderson. Aboard in a pass for the second time today.
Billy Martin made the statement of Ricky Henderson, and he may be right that he is the greatest leadoff hitter ever to play this game. And then Mickey Mantle, who does some television work here, a Hall of Famer, said, yeah, he's the best I've ever seen. I mean, a guy like the walking man Eddie Yost would get 150 walks a year, hit 20 home runs, but he didn't steal you 100 bases, which Ricky Henderson has done 3 times. When you figure it's only been done twice in the history of the major leagues, 100 bases by 2 different people. He's already done it 3 times. It's just, he's amazing.
Ken Griffey got the 8th inning going, leading it off with a double. Takes it tight for ball 1. Joe Niekro, a 9-game winner this season, loser of 12 with Houston, on his way to New York to join brother Phil. It used to be a family occasion when Phil gets number 300.
Mantle further said that when Henderson, Mattingly, and Winfield are 1-2-3, they're the best 1-2-3 combination ever. Wow.
That is deep. That is gone. And it's now an 8-5 ball game.
The cardiac kids are at it again, huh? The bullpen.
A little 5 o'clock thunder here in New York today.
There are a lot of white towels or flags being waved by those fans. About half have remained, and they'll bring Bobby Cox out.
He'll make a change.
Fastball, about belt high, inside half of the plate, where you do not want to throw to a left-handed hitter with even a little bit of power in Yankee Stadium. Going to force Bobby to use another pitcher.
What you going to afford to do with the day off tomorrow?
This team, I'll tell you, the Yankees scare you, and in spite of what Howard Cosell says, and he could be absolutely correct. The edge is absolutely in the favor of the Blue Jays now. Looks like they could not be caught, but don't count on it. Here comes Henke.
You've seen this man's act before.
Wow, what did he strike out 4 to 6 out of here the other night?
On Friday.
The last with the Cubs.
And he has a challenge. He's got the heart of the Yankee order. Mattingly, then Winfield.
You know, along with all the Subway Series talk that's been going around here, people have been writing about the ideal matchup if there's a Subway Series. Gooden versus Mattingly. They're going to have to make a big comeback to have that happen.
Strike 1 to Mattingly. So a big inning here. The 9th, the Jays looking at a 2-game swing. They're 4.5 up if they win, only 2.5 if they lose.
There's a Blue Jay fan, and Dad says, whoops, pull it down, pal.
Just don't be too eager to put that one out. Way out there, a lot of room, though, that's gone in most places, but not here.
He got Mattingly on the fist just a little bit. He really didn't get it on the sweet spot. It was a little up near the trademark or handle.
2 away.
Still, he loves the challenge of a good fastball pitcher, Mattingly. He just missed one.
This is a good fastball pitcher,
to say the least.
A little bit up.
Ball running away just a little bit where he kind of didn't get it all, but it still drove it a long way.
At 375, 380.
So if he drops down from the side on Winfield, if he gets ahead, Dave can say goodnight. See you later, folks.
So far, there's been nothing wrong with Winfield's bat. Gets it away from him for ball 1.
Off-speed pitch. Forkball on the first pitch to Winfield.
The Jays are out away from taking 3 of 4 in New York.
And going to a 4.5-game lead in the East. With what, 19 to play after this?
Strike 1, Winfield.
Another forkball.
Fooled completely by that pitch.
Through 2 in a row with Winfield sitting on the heater. You know, when you get to this stage, the schedule, becomes so important. Not just who you play, but the schedule's running out. And there's not time, unless there's a big winning streak for the Yankees, to get back in it.
I think they've had their outside. It is 2-1. This team is due to cool off, you know. They've won 11. Most of the Yankees' run was 12 in 1961. They almost matched that. So winning streaks of that length are not common here in New York in recent days and years.
The Yankees had won, coming into today, 29 of their last 38 ball games. That's a streak like Detroit started the season with last year, 35-5. Or close to it.
Almost as good.
He threw him another forkball. I think he's thrown him one fastball and 3 forkballs.
And he succeeded in confusing a darn good hitter.
See if he drops down from the side and goes with that heat.
Usually 0-2 he'll do it. Let's see what he does here. On the 2-2.
It's over.
Yep, Winfield just got a little piece of it, and will send this to the glove of Barfield and clinch an 8-5 Toronto victory as Tom the Terminator gets it done again.
They silence.
91 wins now and 4 games. The better of New York in the loss column, the all-important loss column.
They silenced a lot of Yankee fans. Most of the Yankee bats. Doyle Alexander was brilliant again. And a lot of hitting throughout. A balanced hitting attack today.
14 hits for the 8 runs, and this is Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Alexander, who once belonged to the Yankees. George Steinbrenner, as we were told, said that's one of his biggest mistakes, along with letting Reggie go. A lot of good hitting days today for the Blue Jays, and boy, they got that nice 4.5 game lead, off day to watch Monday Night Football and then go to Boston. So
yep,
looks pretty good.
Anytime you can leave this ballpark the way the Yankees have been so hot at the stadium, with 3 wins out of 4, you have done something. Rance Molyneux made a contribution. Cliff Johnson made a contribution. Mosby, the bats got going, and the Jays take 3 out of 4 here in New York City, and it's a day off in Boston. They meet the Red Sox on Tuesday. This is Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Demorier International Equestrian